Hello, and welcome back to the Arc of E podcast. My name is Noah.
And my name is Gavin.
And we're the Blanchard brothers. And we are back with part 2, the midsection of our year-end wrap-up pods.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about television.
Television.
Which I feel like we, in general, maybe doesn't get the most play on even our long-form Arc of E pods.
Right.
But we're often not watching the same things at the same time. So, with that in mind, we're going to talk about the year in television as a whole, kind of broadly. We're going to go through our list. We're going to try and stay spoiler-free, because with that in mind, not everybody's watching the same stuff at the same time.
Yeah, not everybody's a cable cutter like we are. I mean, yes, I
mean,
have
a
cable.
lot of people are, but yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Now we're all just hooked up to the stream.
Yeah.
Just it's streaming into our...
Technically, I have cable.
Eyeballs. What?
I have cable because the cable companies figured out, yeah, it's fine. We'll just make it extremely hard for you to have just the internet because we're going to jack that price up. So what we're going to do, we're going to offer you a bundle to have the internet and a cable box in your house. So there's a cable box out front, and it's dope. It's newer than mom and dad's, but I have cable in my room. So it's just, the old PS4 with the...
We have cable downstairs, and I would say in the last calendar year, I have used it maybe a total of like 10 times. Mostly to watch the Eric Andre show as it aired, Holy Kalama Vote as it aired, all of Primal.
The election?
No.
No?
I didn't watch any election coverage on cable. It was all on my phone.
Last Dance?
I mean, no, I didn't watch it on cable. No,
Okay.
I watched it on the ESPN app.
Okay.
Uncut. Why would I watch it on cable?
Something to do if you're not doing anything that
I
night?
wanted to hear that man say fuck as much as he wanted to.
Okay.
That's what I wanted. I
Okay.
wanted the raw, uncut Rodman. I wanted the
yeah.
real Pippen. I want them to be able to say fuck if they want to.
Yeah.
Just like we can here. You know, set a record this episode?
Most fucks given? Is that what we're doing?
And received? I don't know. Okay. Let's move right along. Okay.
How do you receive a fuck? I don't understand. It blew my mind.
Do we need to have this talk?
Yes.
How old are you?
32.
Okay. The year as a whole was built for TV for most people. If you were quarantined, if you had a long stretch where, hopefully you weren't out of work, hopefully you would work from home or something. But, I imagine a lot of catch-up time. So I imagine people, maybe craving some newness, definitely catching everything as it came out, but also taking the time, as I did this year, to clear up some blind spots, the biggest one being The Sopranos, which I talked about at length as I worked my way through it.
I did some of those.
That was my big, classic binge of this year. But I've been pretty current with the 2020 shows, and it's one of the things, unlike movies, we'll get to that on our next episode.
Yeah.
The year of movies. My God. Okay.
2020, the year of movies? Question mark.
Yeah. But TV was kind of unimpeded by all of this.
No, because it's all shot in advance.
Yeah. And even to the point where I know it was like, okay, this is kind of the final thrust, and then first part of next year is going to be interesting for what there is actually to release. But it's amazing how many of the late night shows have transitioned from we're doing home shows now and are now transitioning back into we're doing I guess small audiences. I don't know. I don't watch late night.
Me neither.
I watch the clips if they show up in a news feed the next day.
Yeah, and and I feel like that was happening way before COVID hit, and I just think it's a weird thing because throughout all this, I have been picturing this as this is a test run, because what this proved to all of us is that with relative is some uneasiness, a lot of civil unrest, we've talked about that, but for the most part, I would say 60-70% of the whole deal has been okay with we haven't had a major depression, we haven't collapsed, so moving forward, are we going to get the George Jetson week? And there's only a certain number of us that go in and punch the buttons for the robots. And what are the rest of us going to do? Are we going to get money from the government to not work? What are we going to spend our time doing? Are we going to devolve into Ready Player One type situation where the whole planet's like just, but we all jack into this thing and like experience it and view it and are
So you're
immersed
assuming
with
we're
it.
not already jacked in right now.
Well, there's a lot of cases that say yes, we are, but the fact that we keep repeating ourselves, I'm like, why the hell we keep doing this? This can't be a simulation if we keep repeating ourselves. Or maybe it is. I don't know. But I just looked at this as like, okay, what if we had what do you do if half or more of the population just doesn't work? They just don't for whatever reason. Obviously now it's a terrible virus, but what if we got to the point where it's like we don't need half the workforce? What are you gonna do? You gonna do what China does and like keep the people in the hills there to not come take jobs? Or are you gonna push forward into entertainment and be like, and just sit home and watch this thing? Pipe it right into your TV, right into your internet. And I feel like you said, TV was built for this.
The great streaming walls of 2021.
Yeah. Like it was tailor made for this. Stuff was already shot beforehand.
They never saw Peacock coming.
It was late in the 2019.
Peacock suddenly becomes like the number one.
Yeah.
Because they secretly like sabotage everything else, including Netflix.
Speaking of Peacock, did you hear about the new announcement for Law and Order?
No.
Law and Order, organized crime.
Okay.
Detective Elliot Stabler
Okay.
returns to the force.
All right.
After a personal tragedy.
You piqued my interest.
Yeah, I'm interested because I kind of feel like, yes, New York is a huge city, but if you go undercover to stop one organized crime family, wouldn't the rest be like, hey, Stabler, that guy, he's not who he says he is, don't fuck with him. You know, like it doesn't seem like it can withstand something that like SVU has.
I am curious, and we didn't really talk about this on albums because, you know, not many of ours directly were addressing what was going on like throughout the year. But in the same way, I'm interested to see where movies go with like how we, you know, interpret all this through art and like the art that comes out of it. Same thing with TV where I'm like, is there going to be a move of like, okay, well, everybody's got, I know some shows have already had like their COVID episodes and stuff. Like,
Right.
But is it going to be a thing where like people are going to want to move like away from that quickly? Or is it going to like invade weird genres where we don't see it happen? And it's like, what does a police procedural look like in COVID times? Like what crime is going on in like New York when everybody's supposedly under like lockdown?
Domestic violence.
Well, that's yeah.
I mean,
Jesus Christ, starting off really dark. I'm sure we're gonna have some dark conversations throughout our list.
yeah, but no,
know.
and
I don't know.
that's what I'm saying because like I think it's interesting. You know, we can transition into it now. You look, I when Cobra Kai hit Netflix, I completely forgot that it actually came out last year. For some reason in my mind, it was like, oh yeah, that was this year. No, it's just that it came to Netflix.
Yeah.
But you see like the positive response to that, and you see the positive response to like you mentioned the Queen's Gambit the other day. I feel like yeah, some people have addressed it, but with the popularity of those shows, those have nothing to do with this. I wonder how season 3 of Cobra Kai is going to go, knowing that like that's a thing, that COVID is a thing now. Are they going to lean into it at all? Make knowledge of it, or is it going to stay?
I don't think timeline wise
it would work. You're right.
Well, I think their post production got slowed down. That was
Right.
part of the delay and the move to Netflix and off of like it would have been premiering on YouTube except for the fact that YouTube said this will be it. We're not going to do 4 and 5, and Netflix was like, YouTube awesomely was like, but you guys are free to shop it wherever you want to. Like, we're not just gonna like kill your show 3 seasons in, that's it. They're like, if you want to shop it, you can take season 3 somewhere else.
Yeah.
So the transition to Netflix is partly what delayed it, on top of post-production already being delayed. But I think they were done. So as far as it like entering into the plot, I doubt it. Now again, that's a question for like season 4. That shows in its own reality in some ways,
exactly.
anyway. So it's like,
but that's what I'm getting at. People want to get out of that. I feel like the popularity of them all is making it where
I don't think you're going to see like a massive. Obviously, some things are going to like. I imagine a lot of network shows that are watched by like, you know, what amounts to crazy numbers these days. What's acceptable crazy numbers for TV?
Yeah.
But I think those shows will probably tackle it at some point if they haven't already, if they're not being shot in the midst of, I don't know. I don't watch like anything on network, I don't think. As we mentioned, we have cable, but we don't use it.
Only reason I've ever watched any kind of cable
I have it
is
because it's
for
free at my apartment and it comes bundled with the internet. But like,
well,
that's it.
yeah. But I mean, only reason I've ever watched stuff is sports games because they usually have money on them, and that's it.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I'm not a big sports guy, and I wasn't this year because, I mean, I know they were happening, but
Yeah.
yeah.
It was interesting this year if you ever just to watch what people did
see,
with no.
You would think
with
I would
no
have the
stands.
morbid fascination, but I feel like I dipped in and like I just wanted to see what a crowd looked like at
Yeah.
like a football game or the basketball bubble, like all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Just to check it out.
Which successful.
Weird to say, but my favorite thing to come out of all of that was the like wrestling with no crowd.
Oh yeah.
Just wild to watch. Just like haunting. And then somebody took the Twin Peaks score and put it behind it.
Oh my god.
I thought I sent that to you at some point.
No, I don't think
that
you
was like
did.
months ago.
Yeah.
But great stuff.
One thing that did make it, I think, just in general with all that, we can get it to. We've talked to Cobra Kai. We know we're going to be doing that.
Yeah. But we've mentioned on a previous episode. But just to reiterate, we love Cobra Kai here. We covered it on the TV arc. If you're not subscribed to that feed, go do it. But it's pretty much dead at this point.
Right.
But there's old episodes to check out. But we've covered season 1 and season 2 in kind of giant-sized like season recap form.
Right.
What we're planning for season 3 now that there's like way more eyeballs on it, and given the fact there's plenty of Cobra Kai podcasts that are going to break this thing down episode by episode, we're not going to do that. We are going to do a binge along because you and I have never watched an episode of this show together.
Nope.
So that's going to be a whole other experience. But the plan is sit down, set up some of our expectations for the season, what we're excited to see, what we think might happen, and then we're going to watch an episode, jump back on mic, talk about it for a few minutes, and then keep it rolling.
Yeah.
And you're going to get one giant-sized episode that you can listen to as you watch the season, if you choose to, or you can listen to it after you finish it, or you can not listen to it at all. You know, that's an option as well.
Yeah.
Presumably,
not the best one,
presumably
but I mean,
you're not hearing this right now, though, if you're not going to listen.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but that's coming. January 8th, we'll be recording it. We'll try and have it up that evening.
Yeah.
Ideally. And, yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's the Cobra Kai Season 3 birthday binge-along.
See,
With the
you're
Blanchard
using
brothers.
Yes, that works.
Yeah.
You could do
It's
Blanchard
not
Brothers
really
birthday
Gavin's
binge-along.
birthday, but he wanted to call it that because it's only a mere 20 days away.
Right.
So he's looking at it as like they gave a present to him, even though, this has nothing to do with you, brother.
Right.
Literally. Nothing.
No, nothing at all. Nothing.
Except, we willed it to get to Netflix and everybody to discover it because we did 2 awesome podcasts about it when it was on fucking YouTube.
Yep.
Fucking bandwagoners.
Real quick.
Our dad watched that season 1.
Oh, he
Shame
loved it.
on all of you.
Yeah.
Shame on all
you
of you.
haven't
He
watched
watched
it-
it before it was on Netflix, and he loves Netflix.
Yes, he does. Immensely.
He came over to YouTube for it. YouTube Red.
He did
and
a
then it was-
subscription. Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah.
great stuff.
Real quick, what I was going to say.
I gotta stop saying great stuff, man.
Yeah. Great stuff.
It's hard not to on year-end episodes because
Of course.
it kind of says it all, right?
It's interesting to look at, and I think it's funny because going back to sports real quick, I watched the Conor McGregor fight earlier in the year in front of thousands, whatever. He wins in under like 40 seconds.
Right.
And then to fast forward to what's been going on in that sport for the past like 6 months, it's literally they condensed the octagon that they fight in, and there's nobody there but the teams. So you not only are you hearing more of what the trainers are going at, but like when things land. I watched one special, and it in 3 fights out of all of them, they were literally one punch walk off knockouts. Like somebody just leaned back on the cage, came up, boom, guy goes down. Other dude drops his hands and just walks off. That's it. I watched one where like the dude was out on the ground, and the guy had to look up at the ref like, dude, come, he's, you gonna jump in here? I'm not gonna hit him again. He's out. I can see he's out. Like, what the hell? And of course, then the ref's like, okay, it's over. It's like, do your job, man. Like, you're not paying attention to this guy on the ground that I just hit twice, and I don't need to hit anymore. I'm walking away. It's over. Fight's over.
Yeah.
but that was the biggest weird thing for me in sports. The football stuff, I know some people are like, nope, like Tampa Bay is like nobody coming in whatsoever. And then other
Right.
places were like, you can come in, whatever, you can kind of like I went to a game with Dad. That was interesting. It was nice because you could like hear everything, but they piped in noise. And
Right.
the only problem was when the speaker next to us like frizzed out, so it was just like a instead of the that you're supposed to be hearing because they were piping in fan noise. But yeah,
Weird.
you want to start it off, or you want me to start it off?
I believe I started last episode, so if you want to, but regardless, we can flip flop for the film episode, or we'll just figure it out on the day. We'll do it on the day.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and say up front, we decided because we talked before the show, if you can believe that or not.
We're not supposed to, but we did.
Yeah.
Normally, we sit in silent booths. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Both have headphones on. I usually get some boxing gloves, start shaking my shoulders, getting ready to get pumped up.
Throws on WTF with Mark Maron.
Yep.
That's his fight music.
That and then some Lose Yourself, Eminem. I went ahead and took Mandalorian off of my list because it is running. We can talk about it later. I do want to talk about it later.
Season 2 is not over, and we decided to go ahead and record this. But with that said, this is kind of the Mando Memorial list because, all signs point to this probably cracking my top 10.
Oh yeah.
I loved season 1, which was not on my on my list last year. I know it was on yours. It just missed the cut. Mm-hmm. But I am over the moon with season 2.
Yeah.
I love everything about it. There's so much to talk about. We may get into, with all of these shows, what we're going to do is we're going to try and sell each other or you, the audience, on them as we work our way through. But then on the back half of this, after we do honorable mentions, etc., we can get into spoilers, and whoever wants to stick around is more than welcome to.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we took Mandalorian off the table. But again, 6 episodes deep, it definitely is still in contention in my brain. But it freed up a spot for other stuff. So, yeah.
Okay.
Any other caveats before we get in, or you want to kick it off?
Other than the fact that none of the show, well, no, actually 2 of the shows I have on here are technically shows that would have showed up on a cable feed for you. Most of them are on pay services. But my number 10 is a little comedy that came out early in the year on Netflix. And it's called AJ and the Queen, starring one RuPaul.
Okay. I didn't check it out.
Yeah.
I know you're a huge Drag Race fan.
I love Drag Race. I love RuPaul. He pretty much has everyone that you can think of in the Drag Race world make a cameo. It's a little, I don't want to say like a road show, but it's basically he's head over heels with a guy. The guy's gonna they're gonna open a club or something. I can't remember if it's a club or some business deal with this love of his life. And then, oh, wait a minute. I think he took all your money and ran. And by the way, there's this small child that, is without her parent that you decide to take under your wing. Very reminiscent. I got a lot of like Tu Wong Fu vibes from it, but it, I think it's 10 episodes total. And I don't know if
you got a lot of what vibes?
2. Tu Wong Fu.
Thanks for everything, Julie Newmar.
Yes,
Okay.
I got a lot of those vibes. Right. He is just hysterical. And he's kind of already conquered the, Logo is the network, I think, and maybe VH1, I think, has the rights to Drag Race. What do they call it when they put them in rotation again?
Syndication?
Syndication, that's the word.
Yeah.
But Logo, that network is where you can find the new episodes of Drag Race. But AJ and the Queen on Netflix, that's my number 10. Cute comedy, pretty funny. The humor's there.
All right.
I think you would enjoy it.
Okay.
Maybe just watch the first episode, see what you think.
Check it out at some point. I remember when it dropped, and I was like, "This looks cute," and then we never checked it out, and that's what happens with
it was
Netflix
January
stuff.
10th.
If you don't start it that weekend,
Nope.
and it kind of fades out of the list that you see, if it's not top of mind,
Yeah. It can't be part of body? I don't know.
and if my brother's not yelling at me like, "Dude, you gotta watch AJ and the Queen," which I do remember you saying at some point. So, all right, it's your number 10. My number 10 is over on Hulu. And go enjoy it because there is no season 2. Damn it. High Fidelity is my number 10.
Okay.
We
based
talked
off
about it a
the
little bit when it came out,
novel
based
and the
off
book.
the novel and the film adaptation,
Yes.
heavily based off the film adaptation. But you got Zoe Kravitz taking over for the John Cusack role. I'm trying to think. I don't have the supporting cast at the top of my brain right this second, but High Fidelity is one of my all-time favorite movies. One of my favorite books as well. The way they navigate adapting both of those things simultaneously is pretty amazing. And we talked about this at the time when it came out. The closest thing I can compare it to is Cobra Kai, because it's taking something that's like a beloved piece of IP to me, and I naturally want to have my guard up about it. And even though I was excited when they announced it, I was like, this sounds great. Yeah, switch it. Female lead, set in the present day. They move it from Chicago to New York, if I'm not mistaken. I think they do transplant it. But it managed to... The one regret I have that it's not getting a season 2 is that I loved the show pretty much top to bottom, but I thought it got stronger and stronger as it became more of its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of great like fan service to the movie and the novel itself, but those things are great, and I enjoyed them when they were happening. But I always thought it was at its strongest when it was doing its own thing and really establishing, its own voice. And it seemed like it was on a trajectory to continue to do that into season 2. And unfortunately, I think this is one that is directly affected by COVID. I mean, they were shooting on the streets of New York, which is just not going to be a thing for a while. So I think that is why we saw it dropped. Now, theoretically, if you can get all these people back together again, maybe a year or two down the line, somebody else picks it up. But I had a great time with it. I think stands, shoulder to shoulder with the film and the novel as just a great piece about music and relationships and all of the stuff in between. So yeah,
I feel like this one. There's a couple of other ones that came out. I'd have to go look at a list to tell you. But it feels like this is like maybe it's not as big a trend as I think it is. But there's a lot of things that I feel like, oh, here's the TV show now of the movie, so to speak. I'm trying to think of one. I was looking at a list the other day, and I was like, wait a minute, there's a movie about that. Like I remember 12 Monkeys. They did that, which again, 12 Monkeys is an adaptation of La Jetée.
Never watched an episode of it.
Me neither.
Yeah.
The Mist. They did that on Sci-Fi as well. So I feel like not this year, obviously, but there's a few others out there that I'm like, okay, now here's the full series of this show that was a really good movie.
Yeah.
Why do you think that needs to be a thing? I think that it's like Riverdale. When they made that, it was like, that's kind of out there. Archie Comics. I mean, some
Basically
people remember
Archie as Twin Peaks, but like for teens, for hot teens, right?
Yeah.
Haven't
And I'm
watched
pretty
an
sure
episode.
they're all CW shows, as these shows I'm thinking of. But it's just, I don't know how much of that is like, you mentioned it, like searching, it was like a great IP that you already loved. So I just think about like,
that's definitely a top 5 at some point. I think I kind of addressed it because I did a High Fidelity centric episode with Mr. Sunshine Mayfield, and I believe we discussed what we would want to adapt into like a long form series, movies that we would take and adapt.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what any of those are, but go check out that episode. It's on this feed from earlier this year. Okay. Your number 9, sir? Is that where we're at?
Yep. My number 9 is a little HBO show called The Plot Against America.
Very glad that you have it on your list. It literally just missed the cut. I believe it's my number 11. Let me confirm. It is, in fact, my number 11.
Mm-hmm.
You and I talked about it kind of almost week to week. We broke it up a little bit. And, but please, it's your pick. So, by all means, tell people what you liked about it.
If I don't watch this show this year, I don't think it has the appeal to me. I think part of my fascination with it and reason why I love it, not because I fucking love period pieces, but the way in which that was infused into, what was going on at the time here with us and our political landscape, to mirror that and say, hey, wouldn't it be crazy if essentially this is how the same thing could have happened back in the day. Thank God it didn't, And I know we talked about the fact that like at the end it's like, this was crazy, but we all worked it out and we did go into the war anyway. Lindbergh wasn't actually ever elected, that sort of thing.
Right.
But just to, if anybody wasn't aware of kind of how fucked up things were, if you were able to watch that show and be like, well, this isn't how it happened, but this is kind of fucked up, and you didn't walk away thinking, wait a minute, is this what's going on now? Is this what these guys are doing? You would, if you had to figure it out that way, it sucks, but I'm glad you figured it out.
Well,
You know what I
that's
mean?
what I think is also so interesting is I remember going into the show, people were like, why is David Simon doing this now? Like, this seems like something you make immediately in the wake of Trump, or at least in the wake of Charlottesville.
Right.
Would make sense, which I think timeline-wise, it kind of
Yeah.
production probably like pre-productions probably started around that time.
Yeah.
But that was the take on it going in, was why now this is going to feel passe, and then it ended up feeling like startlingly relevant. I feel like not a lot of people watched it. I haven't seen it come up on many year-end lists, but I haven't seen that many TV lists yet. I think, again, a tough watch, as we talked about.
Yes, definitely.
And I don't know how many people were down for tough watches this year, so I forgive people that didn't check it out, and I don't know how it will play removed from this year and the moment that it came out in. But it's a great piece of television and storytelling, period. Fantastic performances, great period detail, and by all accounts a pretty impressive adaptation of a beloved novel. Which HBO had another one of those this year. Which just missed my list as well. But might come up on yours, so I'm not going to say what it is.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it in honorable mentions. I will recommend to you just one more time, Indignation is another Philip Roth novel, which was adapted into a movie by James Schamus, I believe, the guy who works with Ang Lee a lot.
Okay.
Really, really good movie. And if you want kind of that Plot Against America vibe and tone, but applied to a completely different story, I would highly recommend it. I think it's on HBO Max right now.
Okay.
Okay. My number 9 is going to be Tabled.
Okay. You want to talk about it later when we can do spoilers?
We'll talk about it whenever it comes up on your list, because I think it's going to be a bit higher. So I defer to you for your number 8, and we will flip-flop, sir.
Okay. My number 8 is a little show called Perry Mason.
Perry Mason did not see, so I will let you take it away.
Oh, man.
Never caught up with it, missed it when it started, and heard good things, but just couldn't fit it into the schedule.
I think the thing that is the draw for Perry Mason is the fact and the idea that when you are shown this time in movies, even movies that they make about this time now, everyone has this weird way of talking, and everyone's so whatever. I watched that Mank movie, okay? And that's the first thing I thought of, was like, fucking people actually talk like this back in the day?
Hold the phone. Sorry. We are on the TV arc, but you watch Mank, brother?
I did.
You watch Mank?
You said that was like the holdout for you, so I watched it.
I'm just very happy to hear that. So
Okay.
that's all I have to say.
And I mean, again, and it's one of the...
Just maybe, you'll hear more about it.
Maybe, yeah. That's Mank on Netflix, December 4th.
People do need to be reminded, because every time I tell Veronica, we gotta watch Mank, she's like, what? We gotta watch what? Like, what the fuck is that movie about? And I'm like, the guy who wrote Citizen Kane. And I've literally said it to her, I'm not kidding, like 4 or 5 times now. She never remembers what Mank is about. I did see it in the theaters, by the way. We just haven't rewatched. I haven't rewatched it, and she hasn't watched it for the first time on Netflix, because every time I'm like, babe, we gotta watch Mank, she's just like, what?
I'll tell you this, and we could. This is my 2-second review. I enjoyed it, but if that's why I don't get Mindhunter season 3 for another couple years, fuck you, David Pitt, or whatever his name is. Who did this?
David Fincher.
I was gonna say David Lynch. For my head, I was thinking Lynch, because you just said Twin Peaks. Yeah, fuck David Fincher. This is the reason why I don't get more Mindhunter.
The reason you don't get more Mindhunter is because not enough people watched it, unfortunately, and it cost a lot of money to make.
Well,
That's a Netflix decision. That's not a David Fincher decision.
well,
He had that thing slated for 5 seasons. It's just not enough people are watching it, and it costs way too much to make.
okay. Well,
So it's done, by the way.
I'm sorry.
In case you hadn't had it confirmed.
Somebody
So
will pick it up. Somebody should pick
basically
it up. Max?
what they sorry, we will get back to TV in a second, but basically what they said to him was, sorry, we gotta let Mindhunter go. But like, you're our boy. You started Netflix original programming. Can you what do you want to do? You can do whatever you want. He's like, I want to direct the screenplay that my dad wrote like forever ago, back in the 90s. I want to direct the screenplay. And by the way, it's in black and white, and it's about Citizen Kane, kind of. Yeah, and they were like, all right, go do it.
Okay.
So
I hope it was worth it.
We get Mank because we can't have more Mindhunter.
Right.
He gets to make this like deeply personal passion project thing he's been trying to make since the 90s on Netflix because they won't let him have his Mindhunter show anymore.
Right.
Which was one of the most brilliant, dark, like great pieces of like
Exactly.
true crime-esque like programming probably since True Detective, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So
But anyway,
yeah, I'm sure. Maybe we'll talk about. I'll definitely be talking about it more on our movies episode. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But anyway,
It's a little Mank preview.
Exactly.
A little taste of Mank.
But that is the thing about that movie, Mank, that I was like, fucking people really talk like this? And I just think that the reason I love Perry Mason, which was my number 8 pick, is that
I remembered.
it is,
Everybody else totally did too.
yeah, it is a version of that character that not a lot of people have seen. I talked to Mom about it, how like you never saw Perry Mason as not in the white suit, good lawyer, whatever. And he drinks and he fucks and he is trying to save his family's farm. And his protege, John Lithgow, is like trying to save a woman who may or may not have like killed her child and all this different shit.
So it sounds like this is a case where it's like, well, it doesn't really sound like Perry Mason at all, right?
Right.
So why the fuck is it called Perry Mason? Why not just make another show set in this time period, call it whatever? Why? Because Perry Mason is a piece of IP. It's a name people know.
Right.
So it's like, we're going to use this to do this gritty 50s detective story that we want to do.
Right.
And we can do it under the guise of this, but it's like,
And it's
we're
not
rebooting,
even
we're reimagining Perry Mason. But was there ever an incarnation of Perry Mason that was this?
I don't really know. I mean, I know the old show. Paul watches it all the time on that new network for old TV shows he always has on. But this is more of a,
So it's just like a straight up like Perry Mason, Matlock,
what if, okay,
Kojak.
this is going to sound like really cliche, but what if I just told you that the entire series is an origin story of Perry Mason, and he was in World War II, and he had to do some fucked shit, and like he's back and he's working for John Lithgow, and all of a sudden this woman and her husband get caught up in this like kidnapping scheme. The child winds up dead, and he's got to find it's L.A. corruption. What's his face? The dude from Barry, the bad guy from Barry. What's his name?
Which one?
Fuchs from Barry.
Oh, Stephen Root.
Stephen Root is the DA, like the big DA of California, who's railing against this woman for having like, two lovers and all this. There's the girl who was on, what is her name? She had the show. It wasn't Black Mirror. It's a British woman, and
Tatiana Maslany.
Yeah, she is like part of like a religious family that has deep political ties. Robert Patrick is in it as well.
Okay.
Like, I'm trying to sell you on it without telling you what it's about. But I definitely think you should check it out. It's a great period piece again, but it's so lived in, and it feels like you could change their outfits and give me this in the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, and I would still enjoy it because they fucking talk like people. They don't talk like this... the way they're going on in that Mank movie. And there's nothing wrong with that Mank movie. I know that people want to believe in Hollywood and the golden era of Hollywood is like this lovely thing, and it's like remembered so fondly, but like people fuck, people drank, people smoke, like, and that's what Perry Mason is. It's not necessarily a great look and a well-remembered thing of this, like, I would argue, an iconic TV show that kind of ushered in the era of television and kind of stole some of the fire from Hollywood. This is a very well done, perfectly made, produced, like, looks amazing, way to, like, kind of, I mean, no, nobody's out there going like, oh, Perry Mason's the guy, dude. Kids are going to fucking love this guy. He's a great role model. Like, Perry Mason, man. Why don't we have more guys like that out there? Nobody's doing that. This is just like, to me, it's like the honest portrayal of what someone in that situation would go through. Because I feel like in the coming out of the war, there was a lot of stuff where people were like, oh yeah, he wasn't in World War II. And you have like a certain image, but you don't really get the true vibe of like what that might have meant for someone. Because he's got, problems, all this different stuff. But
this might be a movie, this might be a TV show, but give me a Sam Spade series with Michael fucking Shannon.
Ooh.
It just can't, they come to me.
Yes.
They're just out there. Just pull them in.
Is it? No, I'm thinking, you're right.
The first season is the Maltese Falcon.
Right.
And you just work your way, or you pick whichever, you can go with whatever order you want to.
Well, no, I like to think of like let's do a Rick Casablanca. Let's just have him each season be a different Bogart character that Mike Shannon does his own version of, and what hijinks they get into.
I can dig it.
Yeah.
All right.
Your number 8.
My number 8. It could have been way higher. I don't know. Who am I kidding? It probably should have been like in the top 5. It's The Real Bros of Simi Valley.
Okay.
Season 3. Just some great stuff this year. Zan and Molly got married. Zan took Molly in more ways than one. They went to Cabo for their bachelor and bachelorette parties. Shit got wild. And I'm mainly talking about like the last handful of episodes because they had a pretty unique case of basically running into a brick wall in terms of post-production for COVID. So there was the first 7 episodes, I believe, dropped, and then a like 6 to 7 month delay, and then we got the final 3 wrapping it up. And it was so worth the wait. Like, it was a bummer to not have it every Friday when it stopped running, and it was like, oh my god, man, this sucks. But they came back so strong. I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's like probably the funniest show on television. And it's not on television. It's on Facebook Watch, to be specific. Funniest show on the internet, arguably. But to refresh anybody who hasn't listened to previous year-end wrap-up episodes where I have had the seasons listed because season 2 was very high. Was that 2 years ago now? I don't remember.
Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago.
Real Bros is it's a mockumentary. It's a parody show about your Real Housewives-esque type setup, but it's about bros in Simi Valley and all the crazy shit they get into and their girlfriends, etc., and how they have really no problems. It's just all manufactured drama for the show, and the show has progressively gotten more and more meta, where like they're aware that they're in a TV show. And like to the point where there was a character who was introduced this season who kind of just slowly stirred up drama, and there was like all this suspicion around like, who is this chick? And what they ultimately find out is like, yo guys, so I think the producers like hired that chick just to stir up drama for the wedding, because like otherwise how much we hate drama.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's fantastic. They also moved from like, usually they're pretty bite-sized format when it started out on YouTube. The episodes got longer when they went to Facebook Watch. And, now some of them are as long as like 35 minutes. Some of them are on the shorter side of like 22. But it is pound for pound the funniest show out there, in my mind. It's Real Bros of Simi Valley. This was their 3rd season. And even with a giant COVID delay, still managed to crack the top 10 at my number 8 slot. Great show. Go check it out on Facebook Watch.
So this is my number 6.
Real Bros is your number 6?
No. Yeah, sure.
I just gave you my 8.
No, you gave me your 7.
No, I just gave you my 8 because we skipped my number 9, sir.
I thought you skipped your number
No, skip. I gave you high fidelity at the 10 slot. We're already screwing up the numbers.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, of course.
Just a classic bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did not give you my number 9 because I think it's going to be higher on your list. So we reverted to you for your number 8. Then we came back to me for my number 8, which was Real Bros.
Right.
Your number 8 was Perry Mason.
Right. So this is going to be my number 7.
This is your number 7.
Okay. My number 7.
That you were trying to skip.
Yeah,
that you didn't want to talk about.
Yeah, of course.
Because you were scared.
Yeah, I am. Because it's been a minute, but it's 000.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Talk about it.
Oh, I thought you were going to.
It was your pick, man.
Okay, all right. It's not on your list.
I was just giving you some ups.
Okay.
000 is my number 19.
Okay.
No shade to it whatsoever. Because I talked about this. It has grown in my esteem the more distance I've had from it, weirdly. Mm-hmm. I think that's because some of the bugs, if you will, some of the like minimal complaints I had about it, mainly that stemmed from Dane DeHaan, overall, all that stuff has just kind of faded in my memory, and what has risen up is Harold Torres as, what is he known as? Is it El Diablo? Or I don't know what the nickname they give him, but
oh yeah.
And then Andrea Riseborough, like everything she's doing in that show, incredible stuff. Just great international crime. I mean, we're going to talk a little bit more about some international crime a little later.
Well, yeah.
But great international crime story. Big splashy. Like you felt the budget of it,
right?
And this is Sky Studios, who secretly, like, as far as international productions go, they now are responsible for this, The Third Day, as well. Another show that I keep avoiding talking about because it was my number 9, but they're putting out some great stuff overall. Really interesting projects. This is no different. I hope we get a season 2.
Me too.
But to refresh it for the audience, we did talk about it a bit. It is basically about the international drug trade from all angles. Sorry. No, dude, I'm totally...
That's why I was smiling. I was like, I got him to talk about it.
Because I wanted to... It was very close to like creeping back up onto my top 10. Again, I love so much of this show that all of the minimal criticisms have faded to the background. So it has just like gone up in my rankings. It was way lower on the list like a couple weeks ago, honestly. It's just one of those when I think back to it, I'm like, the show is fucking badass.
Yes.
And intense. And like,
it does one of the best jobs to me of weaving together a giant story that I don't think a lot of things can do, because you watch a scene and you're taking it from the Gabriel Byrne, the family. Maybe they do the drugs, who cares? They ship them. That's all they are. They get a thing that this big aging Italian drug lord is like, I'm getting a big fucking shipment of coke and it's coming from Mexico. And I got this company to bring it here. We're going to divide it up, and everybody's going to get a piece of the pie. And you're like, that's great. But then you're wait a minute. Someone inside of his midst, maybe even in his own family, has got it out for him. And then we cut to the people who are actually responsible for ferrying the drugs. It's almost, I put their business and how I see that up into like the first season of Ozark, when you're like, well, he just works for this like lumber company. No, wait, he does the books for a fucking drug outfit. Okay, cool. Same thing with this. You think they're just, hey, we ship internationally, we're this and that. Oh, by the way, sometimes we ship cocaine, heroin, whatever. And then you get the guys on the ground that are, some of them are federales, some of them, they work hand in hand with the cartels. They're on the good and bad side of the law. And we talked about it when we talked about it earlier this year. The fucking drugs have nothing to do with it. I mean, they're the catalyst, but this isn't Miami Vice. This isn't like doing coke and going crazy. It's just a badass fucking show.
Yeah. And you mentioned Miami Vice. It is the most Michael Mann thing that Michael Mann did not direct I've ever seen.
Exactly.
In the best way possible, down to the score, which just reminded me, this is as far as television is concerned, this is the score of the year. The Mogwai score for 000 is incredible. Top to bottom. That is the main, like, even if you're like a little lost and like, okay, I don't know who this character is, and like there's a lot of shit going on, oh my god, a lot of subtitles, okay, that guy just got killed, blah blah blah, you can take all that away, you can just like, but holy shit, this music is like amazing. Right. Even if you're lost in it, you're just like, but this this is keeping me going. It's keeping me engaged.
I'm gonna say
great stuff.
I'm gonna save it till we can talk about a little bit more spoilers because I do want to talk about like one of my favorite shots in that whole show. But definitely want to get a season 2 of that. And
I would love a season 2. I really would. The more and more I think about it, I love where it leaves it, but it's like it's such a great dangling thread of like I gotta see Andrew Riseborough in season 2.
Right.
Because people have pointed out, I think it was on the Ringer podcast or something, it would essentially be like Michael Corleone in Godfather Part 2.
Right.
Like, you've ascended now. Now's you having to, like, deal with the real shit. The shit that you weren't even, like, totally privy to before.
Right.
And the amount of stuff she's already seen and done to get to this point. I would love to follow that character for multiple seasons. At least for another one. But also, again, I don't know how Amazon looks at stuff like this.
Me neither.
And I don't know how much money they had in it, or they were just a distribution service. If Sky is like, I don't know much about Sky. I've just seen them like attached to things recently, but yeah, I would love a season 2.
Me too.
Again, it was in my top 20. Huge favorite of both of ours, and it's available on Amazon Prime right now. 000. That was Gavin's number 8. 7. Almost got it, but this is my number 7, so that's good. Okay. My number 7 is Primal, Season 1, Part 2. This was the latest batch of 5 episodes of Genndy Tartakovsky's Primal. It made my list last year as well. It's, for my money, the best piece of animation on television right now. It is about a prehistoric man named Spear and his female T-Rex companion, Fang. Spear and Fang on their adventures through the primordial wasteland. They fight dinosaurs. They fight zombie monkeys. They fight witches. They fight mastodons, triceratops. You name it, dude. All sorts of stuff. Amazing visual storytelling. The main hook of the show, if you will. 0 dialogue. No dialogue. All just great music and grunts and groans and emotion and fantastic animation. And I talked about it previously, but yeah, the two of them are bonded by tragedy, and then they're on just kind of an ongoing journey through this landscape. And spoilers, not really, I'm not going to tell you what happens, but end of this first season, there is kind of a hook into like now there is a purpose or a drive to the show beyond just the kind of moment-to-moment exploration. It's great stuff. It's available on HBO Max now. It's released on Adult Swim.
Yep.
But HBO Max has it, so you have no excuses if you now have HBO Max. Catch up with it. Only 10 episodes, but they are literally all little mini masterpieces. It's one of the best shows on television, period. Not just animated. It's just great stuff. It's the 8th time I've said that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We get it.
It's Genndy Tartakovsky's Primal. That was my number 7. Your number 6?
My number 6 is a little comedy called Dave on FX.
This goes up as a caveat because I, for a time, did not have Hulu when Dave was airing, and subsequently got Hulu back. So, didn't have time to catch it before we made our list. So now I got Perry Mason and Dave to catch up on.
Won't spoil it for people.
I would also like your list after we're done with
Yeah,
this.
of course. I'll write it out nice and neat for you so you can put it in the show notes. Because there's a lot going on this list. Dave is just an FX comedy about Lil Dicky, Jewish rapper, trying to break into the biz. Mm-hmm. Some of the funniest bits, I mean, I wouldn't compare it to another hilarious show and like just good fucking like I wouldn't compare it to like an Atlanta, because Atlanta to me is one of the best shows. That was one I slept on that I caught up on this year.
It's in like a god tier level class of its own,
right?
With like The Leftovers and Twin Peaks and like stuff like that, where it's just so singular and perfect.
Literally, I was typing this up today, and my senior teller, she came in. She said, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Finishing my list, this and that." And she goes, "Oh, what? I like best TV shows. This." She goes, "Oh yeah, I like this, I like that." And I was like, she started saying something, and I said something about The Leftovers. She was like, "What's Leftovers?" I was like, "Leftovers is the best show you've never seen of your entire life. Like, not even last decade, not even the decade you were born.
It's getting another wave. It literally is right now, and it's so I feel like anybody who watched it in quarantine, like, I feel for you. I really
Yeah,
do.
especially
Like,
that
what a
second
bleak
season.
show. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, this was one that like I watched. I was watching Always Sunny on Hulu. I watched one or two. I didn't watch. I don't know how it popped up on Hulu. Oh, I finished a show on Hulu and they recommended this because of FX. And I was like, let me just see. And the first episode, I was like, all right, I think I'm kind of. And then I realized I know who Little Dicky
Right.
is. I don't necessarily know about the music. I get maybe like the parody rap, but then I just kept seeing all these little nods of like the neuroticness and just like the him fully believing he's one of the best rappers of all time, but and like he showcases the skill, but arguably he's all right. Like he's not the best ever to do it, but him existing in that space where he thinks he is, and he's asking legitimate questions, and it's had some of the it had one scene that I don't want to spoil for a lot of people, but I do want to talk about. I don't think I've ever seen anyone talk about mental illness within like the hip hop community. I mean, I know Cuddy talks about a lot of stuff, but the character of Gata that is in there, watching, finding out why, how he entered and like met Dave, where he had come from, and like moving forward with that, and his mentioning of like, I have to tell you, I'm bipolar, like that to me was when it kind of clicked, and I was like, this is a really fucking good show. It's funny as shit. It knows what it's doing. It's not trying to pull the wool over everybody's eyes. And I really hope that like there is a season 2 for it, which I think they did announce.
I'm pretty sure.
But
I think it was a huge success. I
yeah,
think it was
and
one
that's
of
the
the.
thing.
I think it's the most watched show on FX this year, if I'm not mistaken.
And that's crazy because like I would have never known had it not popped up after just being up there on Hulu. It's like, hey, you might like this too.
Yeah.
I don't know how the algorithm did it, but it did. So yeah, number 6, Dave.
Hell yeah! All right. My number 6 is one of the most talked about shows of the year, one of the most popular shows of the year, one of the most streamed shows of the year. It's The Queen's Gambit on Netflix. We've talked about it. People love it. I don't really know what I'm going to contribute to the conversation other than Anya Taylor-Joy is incredible in it. I've always enjoyed her as an actress. Like, she's on a great run thus far. It was nice getting to see her like stretch her legs with a long form project. Scott Frank has always been killer. I love him as a screenwriter. Really, like, I mean, I like The Lookout a lot. I don't particularly remember it as a visual like masterclass or anything, but he has definitely matured as a director, like incredibly so. And he's worked with a lot of incredible directors, so it makes sense. But they really pulled off something special. Obviously, a lot of people seem to agree, and it is just kind of satisfying to see a show that, like, yeah, again, on paper, it's like, oh, it's shocking that the show about chess is like big or whatever, but just the actual like what the show is about and what it's dealing with overall, and some of the themes it brings out, it's way more positive than I think you think going into like a period piece like drama from the era. It's really smart. It's got a lot of like darkly funny moments to it as well. It's just, and it's a crowd pleaser on top of all of that, but it manages to not feel like saccharine or sweet ever. It's a great balancing act of tone, performance, etc. And of course, there's been the natural backlash of like people trying to take it down a peg or two. And I'm not sitting here saying it's the best show of the year, but it is my number 6, and I think it's pretty great. And again, inarguably one of the most popular shows of the year, and overall one of the most well reviewed as well. But probably the most populous pick, I would say, on my list. Although I think I have one that's even more populous, if you will.
Oh, I'm sure.
I think you do too, or maybe you don't.
I've
maybe
got a few.
Maybe you omitted it. I don't know.
We'll see.
We shall see. Are we cracking the top 5?
Yeah, we're in the
Is
top
that what
5
we're
now.
doing?
We are.
All right.
Top 5. Number 5.
Kick it off.
A little HBO Max show called Raised by Wolves.
Hell yeah, man. Okay. Not on my list, but I'll tell you where it was. It was number 17. Again, another one I love. Great year for TV overall. Yeah. I don't have a lot of like, oh, I really hated this one that you put on your list. Raised by Wolves was a great time. Tell me what you liked about it.
The originality, but also yet oddly Ridley Scottness of it all, if you can call it that. I think I talked about it when we were talking about it on another episode. I loved that I wasn't given a ton of detail as to why we were where we were. But it's never dawned on me. It's always been like, oh, we blow ourselves up, or we fight the machines in Terminator. And I've never, to my knowledge, even like Mad Max, we blow ourselves up and then we become these crazy people. And I don't think if you can find a show that's done it, be my guest, I'll watch it. And it does kind of go there with the leftovers, in a sense. But the idea that religion is going to be the thing that splits us, that like we wholly envelop, and that is the reason for the future we have. That, oh yeah, we conquered the machine thing. We got clones to do stuff. We got androids to do whatever. You know, we got all that. We got facial reconstructive surgery from a droid that in like less than 5 hours. We got all this crazy shit. To have the big catalyst for why the characters are where they are, in the huge chunk of the backstory, that Mithraic versus atheist Earth, I want to live there for a little bit longer just to see what led up to it. And then, of course, I want to get a season 2 and like, where do we go from here? Because obviously we find out a lot of stuff which we can spoil later. But I just think, as far as I know, I haven't read anything. That's a completely original thing. There's no book.
Yes, and
that is the beauty of it even more.
That's the thing I really responded to as well, which is it had, again, the aesthetic, the Ridley Scott aesthetic that we associate with the Aliens franchise in particular, and a lot of like Prometheus iconography.
Right.
So it had that to kind of hang its hat on, but then the world building is all this new thing, this 100% new thing. And it was refreshing coming to this and being like, this is not some pre-existing property. This is not a book series they're adapting. They're making this up as they go. They have this world laid out in their heads. They're slowly revealing it to us. But it's not, you're not missing out on anything. You know what I mean? I liked that, like, oh, I don't feel, out of the loop, where it's like, I love Game of Thrones, the majority of it. But there was always that layer of like, then I talked to Barham about it, and he'd be like, well, yeah, dude, but then there's this, and this other like 10
Star
things
goes to Northort and
that
does
you didn't know about at all that totally informed that stuff. And I'm like, well, shit, I feel like you're getting this whole other like layer out of it, and I'm like missing out by not reading the books and engaging with like the source material. So in this day and age, it was like, and we talked about it at the time, the only person who could do like brand new IP, sci-fi IP like this on this scale on television, it has to be somebody like Ridley Scott coming into the space and being like,
Neil Blomkamp.
hey, this is what, dude, apparently he shot a movie during quarantine. So very interested, but he's been he's been making shorts and stuff endlessly, but he's been out of the like big landscape space for a while, so I'm looking forward to whatever he did.
Yeah, I just don't think that like Elysium and all that are existing properties beforehand. So I believe he could do the same thing.
I think he could do the same thing, but I also
but you could put your money on Ridley Scott.
That's what I was going to say.
Proven
He is not. Yeah, Blomkamp would never be given this property and this level of like creative control. And again, I don't know how much. But like Ridley Scott's son directed some episodes as well. Like I think he was heavily involved in the production top to bottom. And one of the best parts of Prometheus and Alien Covenant, which I did not enjoy as much, is still Fassbender and the whole like android personality essentially.
Yeah.
And getting to like really delve into that.
Dude,
such interesting performances, and it's like I feel like underrated because of it.
Because the tiny spoiler, when the father is not father anymore, that is some of the most heartbreaking shit. But also like completely just, I don't think people get credit for that. I don't think actors get credit for being able to be this person, turning it to this.
Because it's genre and everything. A lot of times, I feel like it gets overlooked, but just incredible performances. Yeah. From the child actors as well.
The children are fucking kids great on that show.
I had no prior familiarity with Travis Fimmel. I thought he was great in it. I know Mom loves him on Vikings. Did we get her on Raised by Wolves? I think she said she was going to
She
start
did. I think she did start it. I don't know if she's finished it. We'll have to ask her at
because
Christmas.
that was one of the ones from our previous conversations where she was like, "What's the atheist versus religion
Yes, yeah,
sci-fi show?" And I was like, "Raised by Wolves."
Yep.
Go check it out. But yeah, again, another one I wholly endorse. I'm glad it's on your list.
Yeah.
100%. And I don't think we have confirmation on a season 2. I got to imagine the numbers were pretty solid. This is a straight up HBO Max original,
Right,
correct?
you're not
This was
watching
not
it
even
yet.
available on mainline
Nope.
HBO. And I don't know that it was the draw they wanted it to be for like new subscribers with like a flagship thing. But I saw a lot of ads for this on social media. It had a presence as it was coming out, and they did the thing that I don't know was strictly a product of this year or is going to be the norm going forward for some stuff. But they notably dropped those first 3 episodes out of the gate, which is what hooked me in. That pilot
Oh yeah,
is
dude.
maybe the pilot of the year.
Yeah.
I put it in my best pilots of the last like 10 years or so. It would be up there because it is a full-on Ridley Scott sci-fi movie and goes for broke in the first episode in such a way where you're like, what's this show gonna be? And that's
Right.
so exciting. And every little mini cliffhanger they gave you, because they gave us 3, then they gave us 2, then they gave us 2 more. And they just, the way they doled it out and the way it was constructed, where it was like, you got these little mini cliffhangers, or sometimes just take a moment to breathe, like contemplate this sort of endings to episodes when they knew they had another one paired up with it.
Right.
But then it would bleed into one that ends on a like, holy shit, I gotta see what happens next week. And another one that really messed with the format. Some of those episodes were like 45 minutes long.
Yeah, exactly,
Some of them
yeah.
were like an hour and 15. You know, they were all over the place. They were as long as they needed to be. And I had a great time with the season. Obviously, seems like it's a pretty expensive show to make. But I hope we get a season 2. I hope enough people watched it. And I think we'll get into this on our movies episode. But given the recent Warner Brothers hoopla, all of that stuff,
I don't know what you're talking about.
I love that you don't read like any
I
news
don't.
whatsoever.
Just
Can I drop this on you right now?
Drop it on me, brother.
I was going to save it for our movies episode, but it's going to be another week, and maybe it'll get spoiled for you. So every major Warner Brothers theatrical release for 2020, or 2021 rather, excuse me, is going to be day and date in theaters and on HBO Max.
Oh, okay. So I mean, I knew Wonder Woman, but that's been extended to the next year, basically.
Wonder Woman comes out Christmas Day.
Right.
But we're talking Suicide Squad,
Oh, dude,
Doom.
don't even fucking get me started on Suicide Squad.
Kong versus Godzilla.
What?
There's a whole other slate. I can find you the list somewhere. So there's a lot of people pissed off. There's a lot of people freaking out right now. But that is what's happening. 2021 on HBO Max. It seemed like it was a huge push for them where they were like, we didn't have the rollout we necessarily wanted. We need a big play, a huge play. We don't know what theatrical distribution is going to look like next year. Let's strike a deal, day and date on our service. And I think that's going to bring a lot of people in. I really do. So when they get there and they need some like, what else did I stick around here for? And they have a few of these originals built up. Raised by Wolves, once you have somebody through the door,
Oh yeah.
is a good one to hook them in. And I do feel like a lot of people who early on were like, well, what's this HBO Max? I saw like one trailer for this beforehand on like my Facebook scroll. And I didn't realize it was Ridley Scott. I didn't really pay attention to it at all. I just saw the HBO Max thing. I was like, oh, okay, this is some new sci-fi show. I didn't really like make the connection. And it wasn't until it just popped up on my app and it was like first 3 episodes available now. Ridley Scott directs the first 2. Hey, you want to check this out? I was like, yeah, I want to watch this right now. And I rewatched Prometheus. I did the Alien series during October.
I mean,
it totally got
me-
me reinvigorated into all of that,
to me-
that space.
I get the draw of the Warner Brothers, but if you aren't paying for Max just to watch that Fresh Prince reunion, why?
What are you doing?
What are you doing with yourself? What are you doing with your life?
Is that on your list?
I don't. I can't put that in. It's an event. Like I put that up there with like The Last Dance and stuff like that. as like a TV event, like a reason to. We can talk about that at the end of the episode. But
Okay.
yeah, so number 5, Raised by Wolves. Go download HBO Max. They aren't a sponsor, but you should throw them money so we can get a season 2.
My number 5 is from Hulu. It's a Hulu original, not FX on Hulu, just straight up Hulu. It's Sally Rooney's Normal People, adapted from her novel. Stars Miss Daisy Edgar Jones and Paul Mescal, and they're a pair of lovers who meet in high school in Ireland, and just kind of fall in and out of each other's lives over the course of several years. The series, I think, is a full 10 or no, excuse me, 12 episodes.
Oh,
And another one that kind of messes around with the format. Most of them are like under a half hour, but it's just kind of their love story. I don't really want to spoil the dynamics of it, except they meet in high school under interesting circumstances, and things are just played out long form. It's the closest thing to like a Linklater series, basically. That's part of why I love it. It's essentially before midnight or before sunrise, sunset, etc. It's essentially all of those kind of rolled into one long form series. It's about young love. It is steamy.
Ooh.
Steamy. It did some of the most realistic and like genuinely like sexy sex scenes probably in the history of television on this show. Definitely goes for it. Huge discovery though is Paul Mescal as Connell, the kind of lead male protagonist. Everybody's great in this show, but he was I was like, I've never seen this guy in anything, and now I will watch anything he does, basically. Just one of those like star-making performances, 100%. But yeah, if you're in the mood for like a real like good, solid love story that will like rip your heart out in parts, but like gives you hope in others, like it's so good, really, and one that I recommend to all people, but I definitely will say if you've had moments like this in your life, some of the things that are depicted in the show, it's just going to hit you in a slightly different way, and not everybody's going to like connect with it on that like deeper level, but if you do, it's a really rewarding experience. It's so good. I think you will enjoy it, brother.
okay.
That's Normal People, and it's available on Hulu. That's my number 5.
All right.
Your number 4, sir.
My number 4 is The Boys Season 2.
Boys Season 2, also just outside of my list, but it is on the list at the 15 slot.
That's like 5 outside of your list. That's not really that right outside. If you told me it was number 12, then yeah, that's right outside your list.
My number 12, for the record, is I Know This Much Is True, the HBO series.
I'm sorry.
The Spandau Ballet documentary, yeah.
Yeah, we know.
That is Spandau Ballet. Right?
Yeah, it is Spandau Ballet. You're right. Is dancing with me. Yeah. Anyway,
cheek to cheek.
What is it?
Lay it on me, dude. What's your number 4?
The Boys.
Oh, Boys Season 2. Yeah, it was really good.
I just said it. I just said it.
Amazon is, and you know what they have that no other network has?
Balls.
They got balls, but also just the most violent shows.
Yes.
On the planet.
Oh my
dude.
God, yes.
Between this, Too Old to Die Young, and 000.
Utopia?
Utopia, which I haven't even watched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm running back through the British version, by the way, and that's why I had to take Utopia off my top 10. It really is probably one of the best shows that's been made in the past.
Oh my God, dude! I'm so excited to start it. I had to finish a show that we still have not been able to say the name of yet last night. But Utopia. Now I'm freed up for the year, baby. Dude. It's Utopia season. Finally gonna watch it. I'm so excited. I'm gonna start it tonight after you leave.
I recommend, just because. I'm
gonna want to like binge the whole thing.
Just watch because just watch the Cusack version, the new one, just to see how good the British one gets it, because it's so much better.
I already know that it will be superior. Why would no?
No,
I don't.
You got to give yourself that treat.
I'm going the other way, and you and I will meet in the middle, brother.
Okay.
We'll have the opposite experience.
I've got like 3 of the original left because I had to stop to do some catching up on something. But The Boys season 2 is brutally violent.
Yes.
Probably one of the most violent shows that
and
plays like a comedy.
Yes.
That's the beauty of it.
It's also one of the funniest shows
Yes.
out there. And the first season, which I thoroughly enjoyed, it was definitely like, we're going to get your attention and we're going to keep your attention. This is one of the most shocking shows there is, period. We're just going to keep upping the ante. They continue to do that in season 2.
Mm-hmm.
But the storyline, whether planned, and I know it's based on the source material of the comics, and I know parts of this are taken directly from it. Some of them are embellished, some of them are changed a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just like, so weird that in this whole year, the most relevant and prescient show that feels like it was made for this moment is The fucking Boys season 2.
Yeah.
It was just so surprising to me how many things it hit on.
Mm-hmm.
Homelander continues to be, dude, that is the most underrated performance on television. He should be Emmy nominated. He should have been for the first season. I don't know how their award season works out. He should be for this. Anthony Starr as Homelander is incredible. Just one of my favorite actors to watch.
Yeah,
right now.
I really want to talk up spoilers for this show with you.
We can
so let's
save them
please
for the
move
back
to
half.
let's move to
We
5
both
year 5 because
loved
there's
The
so
Boys
much
season
shit I
2.
want to talk to you about this show.
If you want to hear spoilers for The Boys, which probably you've watched at this point.
Yeah, if you haven't,
but
you
we
should
will
just
save
stop
those
listening
for
and
the
do
end
it
of the
now.
episode.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Great stuff.
Yeah, give me your number 4.
My number 4 is on Hulu, also a Hulu original. It's Pen 15.
What's that about?
Pen 15 comes from Maya Erskine and Anna Conkle.
Mm-hmm.
And I still, as of the recording of this, have not looked up what age they actually are.
Mm-hmm.
But these young women, who I believe are in their like mid to late 20s, I'm not sure. They might be early 30s. I do not want to talk about these ladies' age right now because I don't know and I don't want to speak out of turn. But they are playing themselves in 7th grade in the year 2000. Okay? So they're playing middle school versions of themselves, not named the same characters. They are still Maya and Anna, but they have different last names. They have fictional parents, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But it's their experience in middle school, and all of the kids around them are age appropriate. So there's natural comedy that comes from that, just for like, okay, we got to have these characters make out or something, right? How do we shoot that? Because this is not like legal, for instance. It's one of the funniest things I've seen in a long time. Hits me in all the feels. The only thing I can even begin to compare it to, emotionally speaking, and just how strongly I feel about the show, it's the most Freaks and Geeks thing since Freaks and Geeks. And it is, at the same time, completely its own show and has established its own voice, its own tone. It's just great. It's these two, they're not out. I mean, they are outcast, if you will, but it's like they are best friends. They're quirky. They're weird. Nobody fully gets them. They're trying to adjust to, they want to be cool. They want to be hip, etc. And it's just constantly a struggle. Just living life in middle school and how serious everything is taken. And the show takes on the tone of that. But by the second season, which we binged 1 and 2 back to back, honestly, just in the last couple weeks. Season 2, which is 3 episodes shorter than the first one, but pound for pound, like, even better than the first season, really, like, starts to hammer home, like, I really just, like, care about these characters, and I want to, like, see them do well, and, like, when they go through trials and tribulations, I'm, like, super invested. And yeah, I love these characters. I love the world and the style that it's built. I don't want to ruin the surprises of the comedy and like how genius the concept is when you see it actually played out. But I encourage anybody, particularly anybody who was in middle school in any era of the early 2000s, yeah, check it out. It will hit home for you, and then you'll probably find some deeper layers within there. Great show. Pen 15, season 2 is my pick.
Okay.
That's my number 4. Yes, sir.
My number 3 is a little show called Gangs of London.
Oh, we can take it off the table. This was my number 9.
Okay.
Just finished it last night. We gotta talk spoilers, so we'll save it. Here's what we can say about it. I feel like I'm hijacking every one of your picks.
No, go for it.
No, dude, go ahead.
No.
I don't.
Oh, yeah. Okay. It's everything that you said it was when you told me to go watch it. The dude that made The Raid made a show about British
Gareth Evans.
gangsters. Yeah. Go watch it. He made The Raid in a Star Wars movie. Go watch.
No, different people.
I thought he was the same guy that made the.
You're thinking of Gareth Edwards, I believe,
Oh.
who did Godzilla.
Oh.
This is Gareth Evans.
Evans, Edwards, GE, man. It's every time. GE owns everything. Like you said before, as a joke. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, he made The Raid.
Because of Gangs of London, presumably. If you type in Gareth on IMDb, Evans does outrank him now. For a while it was Edwards.
Okay.
But Evans has appropriately overtaken him. But yes, to be particular, Gareth Evans did The Raid, The Raid 2 Barrandall, segments of VHS, and we had and Apostle, dude, with your boy.
Yeah.
One of our favorite directors around
Let
these
me
parts.
paint this picture. I'm going to paint this picture for you, and then we can go on into your number 3. So, in a year where I have basically had the underworld of London's gangsters thrust upon me, where I get The Long Good Friday, and then I go and watch that Tom Hardy one about those real life gangsters. You come to me at the end of the year. He plays the two brothers. They were big.
Legend, the Cray brothers.
Yeah, the Cray brothers.
I was like, Capone?
No, not
You're struggling
Capone?
to remember Capone?
No. So I have that. I find the legend on my own, and at the last minute of this year, you're like, yo, there's a.
By the way,
there's
one more thing.
There's a British gangster TV show that was like made for AMC, but they can't fucking air it on that network. Oh, and by the way, the guy who made The Raid did it. You should check it out. I was like, okay, whatever.
To be clear, this is Sky, who we mentioned before,
Right.
Sky Productions, and and a BBC co-production.
Oh my God.
That AMC bought the American distribution rights to, and it's only on AMC TV Plus because they cannot air this show on cable here. It can air in England exactly as presented,
right?
But it cannot air here. It is far too brutal.
Yes.
And again, this is not part of Prime. We watch it on Prime through AMC.
Yeah.
But again, if you're an action fan, I feel like that's where you gotta be, is over on the Prime tip with
what if What if Evans does John Wick 4? Could you imagine? Come on, man.
I don't know, dude.
I think
But that's fucking Chad Stahelski's baby, dude. You can't take that away from him.
Yeah.
Maybe he, like, if they co-directed, that would be awesome.
I mean, that seems to be the trend, right? Everybody's doing it these days. Anyway, that's what I had to go into was, the guy who made The Raid made
the guy who reinvented the modern action movie.
Right. He made a show about British gangsters. That thing I've been like feeding you all year, Gav. So go check it out. And I did, and it was fucking amazing. And we'll talk spoilers about it when we get done with this top 10 list.
We will. It's great. It's so great.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Give me your third.
My number 3. Yeah, now Gavin just is literally like, let's finish
Let's
this.
get this shit over with.
Gangs of London. My number 3 is also from a Brit. Good old Alex Garland.
Table.
Oh, I'm so glad it's on the table. Man. I love you so much.
My number 2 is a little show called Lovecraft Country.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
We talked about it a little bit.
We talked about it quite a bit. We vaguely recapped season 1.
We pieced it in there and whatnot.
It's my number 22 of the year.
That makes sense.
If it matters to
you. All in all, I made this year, just because it was a fucking bad shit, dog shit, crazy year. I made pretty much once this came out, it was going to be the Lovecraft year. I definitely want to read the novel, and I don't think that I don't see where you go for a season 2.
I have no idea.
I don't really. I mean, it's not that I don't care if I get one. I enjoyed what I got completely. Maybe you do like a max original. Give me like a 1 hour, 1.5 hour like wrap up of like where we ended.
I don't know what there is to wrap up though.
Right, that's
I really
the thing.
don't.
You know, I don't know what you do with it, but
I
I enjoyed it for what it was. I thought it was the effect, everything we've talked about before, dude.
We talked about it on previous episodes, but to me, if you're gonna do anything, the thing you do is you Lindell off it.
Yes,
Like he did with the leftovers, and it's like, okay, we pretty much adapted the source material straight up first season with some embellishments here and there. Mm-hmm. And now we're gonna take it off in our own trajectory and do what we want with it.
right.
And I think that could really work. The show's already, again, like one of the wildest things on television.
Yeah.
Just doing stuff that nobody else is doing. Extremely just like thought provoking in a lot of different ways and satisfying sci-fi horror at the same time. Not all of it worked for me, but we talked about it. When this show is firing on all cylinders, it's something really, really special.
I mean, if you want to bring it back and make it a horror anthology through this lens of like Lovecraft and, you know, what they've done for the 50s and Jim Crow and for the 60s and 70s and 80s and make that
I could
a
see it
yearly
being a
thing,
decade
I
thing,
don't
yeah.
see why that's a problem at all. I'm dig it. And do like you said.
Yeah.
Completely make
I
up your
think-
own shit for the next season. That's fine. I'm fine with that. I'd watch it.
From
in a
what I
heartbeat.
remember seeing around the time, pretty huge hit ratings wise. So I think we will get us, but we haven't had an announcement yet. And again, I don't know how much of the delay in them announcing this sort of stuff is due to, you know, COVID and what's going to happen with production. But a lot of stuff is, you know, working right now. for
Yeah, no,
stuff
my
that'll
friend.
potentially
I mean,
be
tell you
out
the other day,
like
my-
summer of next year.
My friend who was working on the OC show that what they did up here, she actually moved back here, and they've been
Outer
go-
Banks.
Sorry, OC Outer Banks. It's like the OC, but on the Outer Banks. I don't know. I
know
didn't
it
watch
is.
it. I
I'm
feel bad
just
to say that. I didn't watch it.
I
It's a
haven't
Netflix
watched it
show.
either.
What?
I said I haven't watched it.
Okay,
either,
good,
But
yeah.
I know what it's called.
Yeah,
God
but
damn
she
it.
moved. She finally just made the move down here. She was staying with a relative and working, and now she's just like, I moved. I'm here. I'm gonna be able to work here for a while. So that was good to hear. Cool. Anyway, give me your number 2, Brother Bear.
My number 2, you omitted from your list. I thought about taking it off of mine altogether, and again, if I would have done that, then things would have shifted up, and Plot Against America would have been my number 10, just to refresh everybody's memory. My number 2 is The Last Dance.
Okay.
As you mentioned, a true event, and the reason it's this high on my list, there was nothing I was more excited to sit down and watch when there was new episodes of it available than this show. It was truly an event. There was so much coverage and like think pieces online about it afterwards, podcasts talking about it.
Sports
felt
radio
like-
talk after it,
It
Noah.
felt like even in the midst of lockdown and everybody adjusting to a new way of life, like kind of across the board, the one that it was like this outlier where it's like, but everybody kind of stopped what the hell they were doing for 5 weeks, and we all experienced The Last Dance together. And again, I just would sit there, wait for him to drop on ESPN Plus. Had to watch the unrated versions, and they dropped 2 at a time, of course, and I had to like dole them out through my week because I would finish one and it would be like, oh my God, how can I not do the next hour? But I was like, dude, but if you do, you gotta wait a full 7 days before you can watch another episode. And it just, again, my excitement level for something that I lived through but had no knowledge of while it was happening. I knew Michael Jordan, the figure, but I don't think I ever sat and watched a Bulls game when I was a kid. I saw Space Jam in the theater, opening weekend, Japan, Yokota Air Force Base. Gavin couldn't go because he got in trouble for something, and he was super pissed.
Yeah, it wasn't
Do
the
you
D
remember
on
what you did?
It wasn't the D on my report card. It's because apparently I said fuck.
Okay.
Yeah, which was bullshit because I really didn't. I didn't know what that word was at that age, but I didn't.
Gavin said fuck and was not allowed to go to Space Jam.
Or no, I got in trouble for saying fuck, but the reason I couldn't see Space Jam was my D on my report card. That's what it is.
Oh.
I remember that.
Double punishment.
Yeah. Japan's becoming one big ball, but I can still pull some stuff out of there every now and then and give you some details.
Gotcha.
I appreciate this for in the context of what it means for us, but also for that sport. Because you have to realize, I forget. It's sad to say I forget. 2 days before my birthday, Kobe Bryant is killed in a plane crash. In April, May, this show comes out. And then later in the year, LeBron James and the Lakers win the national championship. Doesn't matter that it's in a bubble. Doesn't matter that it's all combined, like they're all down there. It's a short year, whatever. Mm-hmm. You have a huge tragedy around an amazing person and a great ambassador for that sport, that game. And I feel like everybody's kind of like, you've lost. You don't have sports. All of a sudden, they're all gone.
Right.
You know, our men's basketball team may have been able to go and make a championship run. Who knows? We never got to play an NCAA tournament. Then you have this thing come out that's an event. And I think it does a lot to remind people that, yes, you know, this death is fresh in everybody's mind. What are we going to do? But it reminds us all of that nostalgia of like, why, even though there's been the NBA referee scandals, because why over like arguing about who gets paid what and teams moving where and trade deadlines and all this, why do we still go back and watch it? Well, there was a guy here at this point in time that transcended all of that, everything, put a city, a town, people, everyone on his back, and did something incredible. Like LeBron James still has to win 3 more, if I'm not mistaken, 2 or 3 more to tie him. You know,
I think so.
And it's just one of those things that's like that comes out, and again, it was planned, and obviously no one saw that tragedy happen in January, and then to cap it off at the end of the year with the Lakers winning again, and you know the talk now of like, well, what can they do from here? I just think The Last Dance, as sad as it is to say, it comes in like a nice time and just allows you to still kind of like grieve, but also remember why you love basketball. And it's this event, and it's water cool. Like I said, they're talking about on sports broadcast shows. And I don't know if it was lack of content because there weren't sports at the time, but listening to people talk about that and having guests on who knew some of the people that were in the doc, I look at that same like way I did with the Fresh Prince thing as an event. And so that's, I mean, it would have been on my list. And again, it is a show. It's episodes. It's 6 of them. That to me constitutes a TV show.
It's 10 episodes.
10 episodes? Why did I think it was 6? I don't know. I'm thinking the OJ thing. Maybe the OJ thing was 6.
6 parts. Yeah.
Right.
That's like 7.5 hours long.
Right. Yeah. But anyway, that I just, as sad as it is, it does kind of come in at like the right time, and I think it also captured. Again, the right time because nobody can go do sports.
Yeah, it just captured everybody's attention at the perfect time. And on top of that, it's like not only did we get it, and I remember seeing trailers for this like last year. They were teasing like Jordan Doc, and still not even realizing what The Last Dance was. The whole structure of like this is what was conceived. This is the last dance with Phil Jackson. The last time this team is all together. Mm-hmm. Last time before it all get split up, and telling that narrative while we jump back, telling that season narrative while we're constantly jumping back to these previous championships and these just fantastic stories, just crazy behind the scenes access that you've never seen of all of these guys. And again, a level of detail about him as an individual, so much of which is communicated not through what he's saying, but what he's not saying. And how he's not saying it, and just trying to read his emotions, etc.
Oh, yeah.
And he's also very straightforward with a lot of other stuff where you're like, oh shit, like he's still got this even all these years on. He just sits in the dark and thinks about this shit sometimes. Like some of this stuff still eats away at him, for good and ill. But just fascinating.
Did I tell you
great
about
stuff, top to bottom?
Did I tell you about the thing about Kobe's funeral thing? About that, he openly talked about like he told his wife he wasn't going to cry or whatever. I couldn't believe. I don't remember if I did or not. It's been a fucking crazy year, bro.
Oh, I know.
Since we know what my number one is, do you want to give me your number one, or do you want me to give you my number one and then we'll go?
I'd be glad to do it either way, man. What do you want to do?
Why don't you go ahead and give me your number one?
My number one is I May Destroy You. It's on HBO. It was a stone cold 10 out of 10 the second I watched it. I was like, there is no way anything else from this year will touch this, and it hasn't. Yeah, it's one of the most singular pieces of television I've seen. It's one of the best shows of all time. Instant classic, basically. I feel like it was a tough sell for a lot of people who saw just the like early trailers or got just a log line because they were told this is about a girl dealing with the aftermath of a sexual assault. That's pretty much it. Okay, the show is so much more than that. That's the starting point. But it is the most now show, not in we're addressing what's going on in 2020, but more we're addressing the state of like culture and the world at large, where we're at collectively as humanity. Not even specified for like, COVID, what all of that means, but kind of the pre-era of that. All these conversations we've been having over the last several years, and Me Too, and questions about consent and what's appropriate behavior, what's an acceptable apology, all of this different stuff, the dynamics of dating in like the digital age, all of that wrapped up in what does social media do to people's psyches. It's all there, like literally every like hot button issue, if you will, every like big hot topic for the last several years is all in here somewhere. And it's all just like perfectly explored in these little it's a half-hour show. It's a half-hour show. It's 10 episodes. Or maybe 12. I can't remember now. And every one of them is an absolute knockout. I referred to it when I talked to you about it previously. It is the anti-binge show. I would never recommend to anybody to watch all of these episodes right on top of each other. That would be way too emotionally taxing, and you would also miss some of the brilliance of the show, which is it would end every week when I was watching it, and I needed a full 15 to 20 minutes to really come to terms with what I just watched. And I don't know if that's a huge recommend for a lot of people or something that would scare you off, but I was consistently just floored by its approach, the themes the taboos it was willing to like tap into, the stuff that's just like, I can't believe there's a show that is able to talk about all of this and talk about it so honestly at the same time. And it doesn't hold your hand. It's not, there's stuff that will make you like question, like, oh, I thought I loved this character. Who is this person all of a sudden? There's wild shifts like that. There's incredible like narrative flourishes, flashbacks. Just I don't want to ruin all of the surprises the show has in store for you, but I do want to say Michaela Cole, who is responsible for pretty much all of the creative aspects of the show and stars in it as the lead character Arabella. It's the performance of the year, period. It's one of those that like transcends movies or TV. It's the best performance I've seen this year. And then when you put on top of it that like she wrote and like developed this whole thing, and it is so deeply tied to her own personal story, but also purposefully not her at the same time, because it allows her to explore a lot of other stuff. Anybody who's scared off by the heaviness of that plot description or the tone, it's also one of the most darkly funny and like well written shows I've seen, and just is about characters, about characters, people, and places that you just don't see on television that often. And the other biggest compliment I can give it is every single week when I sat down to watch it, I did not know what I was going to get. I didn't know where this show was going to go at any given moment. And it always kept me guessing. It always kept me invested. And it rounded out into having, I talked about, what did I say was like the best pilot of the year? Raised by Wolves, possibly. This is the best finale I saw all year, period. Just what a way to end a show. I cannot recommend it more highly. It's one of the best things I've seen, period, in a very long time. Time May Destroy You. It's on HBO. I don't think this show will ever get a season 2. I don't know if it was intended to, but I also think it could come back for a season 2, and I would be be just as excited to see where it goes from there. But it doesn't need to at all. It can stand as a singular one season piece of incredible. Again, you almost want to put entertainment in quotes because I will warn you, it's got some heavy shit in it, but it is well worth your time, and it's the best thing I saw all year. So I May Destroy You on HBO. Go check it out, please, brother, and everybody else on my friend list that actually does listen to this podcast that I have texted about it incessantly for like the back half of this year. It's the best thing. It's my number one. Please go watch it if you haven't already.
Okay, well, I think I will have to.
You're number one.
Did you realize that I had watched this when I talked to you at Thanksgiving?
Not at all.
Okay, you missed that line then.
What did you say to me?
I said, Noah, I did find out that the V is a Roman U. It's a little inside joke. I said that to you.
I totally
and
did
you
not
just
hear
you
you
were
say
blanking
that to
on me
me.
all day. I was like, I thought he would get it because like I wanted to tell you I'd watched
You
it.
got to also remember I watched Devs as it was coming out.
Right.
And it has been 6 or 7 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I wanted to tell you I'd watched Debs, but I was like, no, I'm gonna wait. And then when you didn't say anything, I was like, I don't think he heard me. I don't think he knew what I was talking about. I'm not gonna say anything. And then that was it because I wanted to like tell you that you said all that shit you just said about that show about Debs before you watched your number one. And I was like, Noah seems to like this shit. Let me see what it's all about. That's what I watched. And then Dave popped up. When I finished it, Dave was underneath.
Devs and Dave, baby.
Because
they were running concurrently.
That's
and
probably
I guarantee
why.
you there's some people that got confused and were like, wait,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. I don't. Is there a fund that Alex Garland can just
Can
dip
I give
into?
you-
Can I just give him my dollars, my pennies, my nickels? Because that man was an author. He only wrote books. And then he met Danny Boyle.
Yeah.
And, I mean,
And
what did you think of Annihilation?
And quietly transitioned into being a better director than Danny Boyle.
Shh, no one speak. Yes, 100%.
He's only through. No, he's not even 3 movies deep.
No.
I want to keep thinking of Devs as a movie, but it's
Yeah,
not.
no, it's not. It's amazing television.
Here, Annihilation is long overdue for a rewatch. I saw it in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
Did not fully connect with it.
Right.
On paper, I adore Ex Machina. Saw it in the theater. Natalie Portman is one of my 5 favorite actresses of all time. I was excited to go see this.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it was expectations missing what I actually got or what. But I remember feeling at the time, I got it, but I didn't connect with it. Was there something I was not getting? Because I felt like I got it. And I have not reapproached it. I know people love it.
It's good.
I like a lot about it, but it didn't hit me the way I was expecting it to. But regardless, I was super excited when I heard, they're giving him the Winding Refn, the Lynch treatment. He gets carte blanche with Cate Blanchett with the budget.
Yeah.
He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
What's he gonna do? Nick Offerman's in this show?
Yeah.
Nick Offerman's in this show? What's up with his hair? What's going on?
Yeah.
That's pretty much all I had on the table about it going into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, oh, and dude who is married to Zoe Kravitz, what is his name? We start the series out with him. Oh
Wait
my
a minute.
God.
The guy who's married to... Wait, which one are you talking about?
Dude, again, 7 months since I saw it.
Oh.
Still my number 3. But
Yeah, no, good way to hang around. Because I thought this came out... I didn't realize it came out 7 months ago. I thought it came out like early, like first of the year. Like January, February.
Carl Glusman, Sergey. He's Sergey in the show.
Oh.
That's Zoe Kravitz's husband. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
That...
He was in the promotional material, as was Nick Offerman and Alison Lohman.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so I was like, okay, interesting mix of actors. I'm interested. This looks quasi-futuristic, Silicon Valley, very vague about what it's actually about. okay, I'm going to give this a shot. Mm-hmm. And just talk about a rabbit hole of a mystery that you just like, the more you come to understand about it, you're like, that's what this show is about?
Yeah.
That's what
yes, exactly.
Is about. It's one of those, and I don't even want to spoil too much.
We won't spoil too many things.
Other than it concerns a Silicon Valley figure, a Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs-esque figure, who is
You know what's really crazy?
God.
Whenever I think of this, for some reason, this is just how fucked up my brain is. When I think of this figure, I think Tim Robbins and Antitrust. I don't know why,
you go to
but
Tim
I
Robbins
just
and
think of that,
Antitrust, which is a veiled Bill Gates / Steve Jobs
exactly.
amalgam.
That's
if
what
he
it
was
is.
Villainous,
yeah, exactly. So when I think of that, for some reason,
every
time people do that, I'm like, that's just Tim Robbins.
Have you listened to the We Hate Movies on Antitrust?
No, I haven't.
Classic app.
Okay, I have to listen to that.
App. Yeah,
because I have that DVD. It's in that book of stuff I'm going to bring.
You have that DVD.
Yeah,
I remember that from the stack. Claire Forlani,
Ryan Felipe,
yeah,
and Tim Robbins. Yeah.
The classic Antitrust, dude. Where was that in 2x2 retro reviews, baby?
I don't know. I just found
always
that
2021.
we can keep it going, but
We'll do Antitrust and Pirates of Silicon Valley.
Right.
Double feature just makes sense.
Yeah. Right.
Or maybe Antitrust in the net makes more sense.
Yeah. It's like Antitrust was like the Skulls, but it's the internet.
But with computers.
It's
Skulls with computers.
Right. Exactly. That's
Skulls is way better.
Yeah.
But let's do Skulls and Antitrust.
We should.
2x2. I'm not even kidding.
January 1st. Let's do it. We'll record it before then.
January 1st is reserved for We Can Be Heroes. For Rodriguez Revisited, episode number 15 or 16. Something like that.
Yeah, sure.
We can do it after.
Okay.
Do it after.
Do it for
Remember that one.
My birthday.
What did we say?
Antitrust and the Skulls.
And the Skulls.
Okay.
That is a good pairing, dude. That's a double feature.
Yeah. You got all the late 90s heartthrobs in there. You got Ryan Felipe. You got Josh Jackson. You got fucking Paul Walker, Noah.
Yeah.
And, of course, good old William Peterson.
Dude.
Yeah.
You got Bill Peterson. You got no
complaints. Dude,
Okay.
every time Feliz Navidad plays at work, I walk out of my
want
office.
A shirt, dude. I really want a shirt.
I walk out of my office and I just say aloud to whoever hears me, I mean, you got Jose Feliciano, you got no complaints. And I keep walking. And like the last two times, Pearl, my senior teller, asked me, what are you talking about? I was like, it's a joke my brother says about a movie. And then I did it today, and the new teller, Tyler, was like, what do you say? I was like, it's a joke that I'm saying out loud for no one to hear but it's my own little personal joke I say to myself. Something my brother said.
It's like the best line delivery in all of Fargo, which is just full of great line deliveries. By the way, We Hate Movies is We Love Movies for this month, for December, as they always are. And Fargo was the second movie they did.
Okay.
Citizen Kane was the first one. Great run over there. This has been Noah Talks About, a more successful podcast that he loves, that he wishes more people listen to. But a lot of people already do. Okay.
We can go into more spoilers with devs, but it was by far of all the things you've recommended to me. A little bit.
Excuse me.
Of all the things you recommended to me this year, this is like the TV equivalent of the Long Good Friday for me, except it was new and not old, and like I watched.
This is Gavin's Too Old to Die Young.
I mean, I really like Too Old to Die Young.
I know, but this is yours. Like you had it at number 1.
Right.
I'm just saying, clearly, like, I think you liked it even more than I did, and I gave it a 10 out of 10. But I'm saying, this is, like, one of your boys. Like, you've been following this guy's entire career, and this is him.
I mean, does anybody have a copy of the book, The Beach?
That's what I'm saying. Like,
does anybody have a copy of
The Tesseract?
The Tesseract, the book? Because I do.
Gavin does.
I do.
Yeah.
Now, I haven't seen that terrible movie that I don't think had anything to do with...
I don't think he did either.
What's his...
Jonathan Rhys-Meyers.
Yeah.
Haven't seen it either.
Me neither.
Why is that in my brain?
Why do you know
Why
that?
do I know who starred
Exactly.
in the Tesseract movie that I've never seen? Why? It doesn't need to be there.
The cover does. I think I put it on a long time ago and was just like, what? And I lost it.
Yeah.
But seeing Ex Machina and seeing Annihilation, this almost feels like a weird perfect blend of both, because
100%.
the time travel element of it all, which isn't really an element but is, the permanence, the like free will angle, the just all of it. Like,
all of the philosophizing of it,
oh my
which
God.
is like, I understand might be completely alienating for some people,
Right.
and they might find boring, but to me it's like, on top of that, you have what for me was a really interesting, like, mystery plot, corporate espionage, like, how do we maneuver when, like, we don't know how far their reach goes. That I love that
Yeah.
sort of stuff. And again, has an emotional core to it. And then I need to, sorry, excuse me. So Sonia or Mizuno or Sonoya, I don't want to butcher her name. But Lily, she plays Lily.
Lily, yeah.
Incredible discovery for me. She was in Ex Machina. She's the robot who dances with them.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that.
I remember that.
But I loved everything about her performance. I know some people ragged on it. I saw that as one of the detracting
why
things.
though? I don't. Why would you even?
I don't know either, but
Are you watching the same show? Like, what the fuck?
my
man?
thoughts exactly, but I thought she was such a compelling and unique presence. Like, I just haven't seen somebody like her in a show before.
I want to see her in like a cyberpunk
Yeah.
type, like,
She
badass.
fits the vibe of this computer, like, extremely
Right.
intelligent computer programmer. Like, she fits the bill on that front, and I think the performance carries it through, where it's like, no, she's not spouting like cool badass like dialogue or whatever. She's like an extremely thoughtful person trying to process some of these crazy concepts, and who has emotional stakes of like finding out what happened to this is the first episode. I think it's in the trailer, but essentially her boyfriend goes to work at they both work for a
this
big
company.
tech company.
Right.
But he goes to work for a thing within this called devs.
Yes.
It's like the most sought after position, essentially.
Right.
They get to go work in this structure that, like, you're only allowed into if you're a member of devs, special research team.
Yeah.
He goes to work there, and he subsequently disappears. We'll put it that way.
And keep listening when we go into spoilers, and we'll tell you all about it.
Yes. And excuse the sneeze.
Whew. All right. Great top 10 list there, Noah.
Turning into dad, man.
Yep. You are.
Wow.
I did eerily sound like Dad the minute you told me you were turning into Dad. Yeah.
Okay. We did the list.
We did, yeah. Do you want to?
did the whole
We're
damn
gonna transition with something into spoilers. You just want to jump into spoilers, and just like start going.
I mean, I want to just real quick hit the shows that didn't quite make my list, that
Gotcha.
haven't been mentioned yet, and then we can talk about whatever you want to talk about.
all right, you mentioned them because I'm pretty sure all the ones that you didn't put on there, I got as honorable mentions
Okay,
too.
starting from the very bottom of the list for me, and this is not all of what I saw. This is just everything that was basically like a good, solid recommend to me or below. The Third Day, which is available on HBO.
On my list
We
as
talked
well.
about it in our October episodes. At 26, I had Beef House, the latest Tim Heidecker and Eric Wareheim vehicle. It's on Adult Swim. First season is now available, I believe, on HBO Max, if I'm not mistaken. If you're into that sort of thing, it is a deconstruction of 80s and 90s sitcoms, like Full House and the like. So your mileage may vary, whether you find them funny. I happen to think that they're pretty great. My number 25 was The Undoing, which was on HBO. You and I never talked about how it wrapped up. Maybe we can talk about that in spoilers. But guess what? My guess, yeah, it was right. And it was
Yeah.
right the whole time.
Sounds like
But
another show.
They spent 5 episodes trying to tell us that it wasn't. But overall, it was still a very enjoyable experience, and it was well acted, and it had Nicole Kidman in it. So, it got an 8 out of 10 from me. So,
Okay.
what are you going to do? Excuse me. What We Do in the Shadows, season 2, really enjoyed it. Not quite as much as season 1, but season 1 has some incredible episodes. But it is one of the best comedies on TV. That's available FX on Hulu. My number 23, Umbrella Academy, season 2.
Yep,
It
that's
was a
one.
good time traveling.
I love fucking time travel
Just
shit,
a blast, man. Just a fun season of television. Nothing really negative to say about it. Lovecraft Country was my number 22. We talked about it. Number 21, I had The Midnight Gospel. Very interesting animated show available on Netflix from Mr. Duncan Trussell. It's essentially segments of his podcast in animated form, and it's one of the more thought-provoking and emotionally engaging shows I've seen all year. If you like kind of, casual philosophy, armchair philosophy, whatever you want to call it, highly recommend checking it out. And if you just like pretty cartoon animation, it's just a fun show to look at. And it's available on Netflix, as I mentioned. My number 20, Fargo Season 4, just wrapped up about a week and a half ago. I love Fargo, the series as a whole. This might be the weakest, but that feels weird to even say. Maybe the least successful season. But even the worst season, it feels weird to say worst. I don't want to say that. But even the worst season of Fargo is better than 80% of what's on television. You know what I'm saying? There's still a certain high level of craft going on, even if not all of it comes together fully. But I still really did enjoy this season. I still encourage you to check it out and finish it if you did perhaps start it. I know we talked about you possibly checking it out.
I was trying to, and then Dev's got in the way, man.
Well, not a bad thing to make time for, so there you go. 000 was my number 19. At number 18, Search Party, Season 3 on HBO. I feel like this show disappeared just as I was discovering it, which, like, there's a Season 4 coming, but I did not hear, like, any discussion about Season 3, and I spent part of quarantine catching up with the whole series, because it's available on HBO Max. It is now a Max original, so Season 4 will be on there, I'm thinking first part of next year, but it is a murder mystery, satire, dark comedy, starring Alia Shawkat and a bunch of other extremely funny, good, awesome people, and it's great. It's one of my favorite new shows, and I recommend people catch up on it. If you like true crime, but you want some comedy and some social commentary baked in there, and just like pitch black humor,
okay,
get into it. Love Search Party, love it. Let's see. Raised by Wolves at number 17. Big shout out to this show. Only reason it's down here is because it's a little on the short side, but talk about something that I just absolutely adore from this year. How To with John Wilson. It's available on HBO. Only 6 episodes. It's a documentary series. It's produced by Nathan Fielder of Nathan For You fame, if you're familiar with that show at all. One of my favorites. John Wilson films most of his life in first person, essentially. He lives in New York. Each episode is just about a different topic, and it's just his brain, dude. It's incredible. It's so funny. It'll warm your heart, make you feel good about humanity. Just a great thing that I'm glad exists. And they just announced today it's getting a season 2. But yeah, everyone's a different topic. There's stuff like how to wrap your furniture, like in plastic wrap. How to split the check, like when you're out to dinner with friends. Starts with a very simple question, and then just compounds on itself and becomes more and more hilarious and way deeper than you thought it could be. And just I love this guy's brain and his brand of humor. Really, really enjoyed it. How To with John Wilson. That's on HBO. Okay. I hope you're all taking notes, by the way. I hope you're all writing this down.
Yeah.
The Boys Season 2, my number 15. My number 14, Kingdom Season 2, which I think I finally got you on board with.
My number 11.
Also got Sunshine Mayfield on board. Hoping we get a Season 3. Don't know if we need it, but I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I think it's, hugely successful in Korea as well.
Oh, yeah, no.
And we all know Netflix don't give a shit about that American dollar anymore. It is all about expanding into foreign markets and territories where they don't already have, a huge foothold. So you're just going to continue to see more and more international programming. But again, if we get stuff like Kingdom and the Naked Director out of it, bring it on, man. Come on. But yeah, huge recommend for Kingdom. Again, that is I don't know what period of Korean history it is in, but it's basically zombie Game of Thrones in... I think it's feudal Japan era, but I don't know what you would call that in Korean history. I don't know if it's feudal Korea or what.
14th, 15th century.
But yes, great stuff. That's on Netflix. And the only one I had not mentioned yet, Better Call Saul, season 5, my number 13. Loved it. Don't have anything else to say about it. It gets better and better every season. You're probably going to see the final season, season 6. I would imagine near my top 3 if it goes the way I'm expecting it to. We get that next year. I cannot wait. What a brilliant show. Never thought I would be sitting here, how many years after Breaking Bad has ended and being like,
7.
So Better Call Saul might be the superior show. I don't know. I need to rewatch Breaking Bad, but I never thought they would get to this point where I'm just like, it's just as good, if not better. And I felt like that about pretty much every season from like season 3 forward. So it's so good. I love Better Call Saul. Those are all my honorable mentions.
I had The Outsider and Utopia as 2 I kept off the list.
Outsider really
Only because I wanted to. Like, I was really excited and I really wanted to love it. I know,
and first part of the year, I was super amped, and that's another one. I think the pilot of that was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everything that happened subsequent of, spoiler alert, Jason Bateman...
Let's just go ahead. We jump into spoilers right now. Yeah, Jason Bateman taking a shit and dying.
Taking a shit and dying?
like you get it, build it. Like he's
just to clarify one more time. Okay, from this point forward, we will be talking about spoilers from all sorts of shows of 2020. It's 2 hours into this episode, so feel free to tune out. We appreciate you if you stuck with us this far. We love you guys. We'll be back with movies to wrap out the year.
The big one.
The big one, which sounds weird to do because clearly TV is where our heads
exactly,
were.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to do the movie episode with you, buddy. It's going to be fun. Okay. But yeah, from this point forward, it's open season. We're talking spoilers, so get out if you don't want to hear any. But we will say show by show as we go. Yeah, The Outsider. Spoiler alert. Basically, everything that happens after Jason Bateman gets killed, subsequently, my investment in the story and everything just dissipated.
Right.
And then just the air was let out of it as we marched towards the finale, which again, that final shot, the post-credit stinger scene, I don't need it. I don't want it. Get it out of my face. You know what? It didn't fucking matter because there is no season 2. Officially canceled by HBO. As if it was a huge shocker. I was like, who was asking for it?
I mean, it would have been nice. I don't know.
Again, the cast they assembled,
top notch.
Everybody was great.
Yeah.
I would have loved for it to be sitting in the top 10, but they just, again, it did not need to be as long as it was. That's a key here. It did not need to be 10 episodes. Could have done this in 6.
Yeah.
Could have done this in...
Could have done it... I could have done an 8. I give it 8.
Give it a True Detective run. Give
exactly.
It a True Detective run. Is Perry Mason 8, if I remember correctly?
Yes, it is. 10? It's not a full 10. And you like Lithgow. I mean, he's good.
Dude, again, nothing really turned me off from it other than I missed the boat when it first started, so I missed the first wave of conversation, and then people very quickly moved on.
Listen, I knew I should watch it when mom and dad were catching it as it aired.
That is when I should have watched it, but I didn't, and that's how it went down. Okay, let's jump back to devs.
Yeah.
So, what's essentially what devs is when it's ultimately revealed? Were you excited? Were you intrigued? Were you like, what the hell?
Well, I guess the thing that I think was so... I'm thinking of the pilot, and I'm thinking of the whole, he takes a break, and he clicks his watch, and I'm like, okay. And I don't see him do anything else other than, mess with his watch. So when, he's walking out, and it's obviously not the way he came in because, you got the halo rim trees that are really dope. And then, Offerman approaches him and is like, you were never going to do anything but this. Mm-hmm. And you're like, wait, what? The fuck are you talking about? What did he do? Because you don't really know what he's done. He just messed with his watch. And I'm like, all right. And the next thing you know, it's bag over the head, dead, done. Whoa, what the fuck is this? I thought this was going to be my guy.
Right.
you know? And I'd love that part of it because if we all know Gavin, kill off the person you think you're going with in the first 15 minutes, I'll stay for the next 7-8 hours if I have to.
Right.
You know? Why not? Because you get the idea that, like, and now thinking about it, what he shows them in the opener of, well, this is just a few seconds before. Like, this is, we've determined this, but we're kind of running into a problem here. Okay. And then you see all that transpires. But by the time you get to the end of the show, you're like, every time I've seen Nick Offerman on screen, he knows exactly what he is going to say, what he's going to do.
So does Allison Lohman.
Yeah, the object. I kept wondering why, like, they kept talking in ways, and I'm like, they know something, but like, what? Like, okay, when he's like, don't forget that so and so's in your car. What? And then, like, I'd already realized, okay, they can look into the past. They've been telling people not to look into the future, but in my mind, I'm like, they're fucking looking into the future. They have to.
Right.
They have to be doing this. And then you get, well, we know it goes to this time, and then it stops. And we don't know what happens after that. And I'm like, weird. And then you get them watching her crawl, and you're like, she's like, in 3 days, this girl's going to die. It is what it is. You're like, how the fuck do you know this, bitch? And then you like, oh, they've literally been doing what they tell the other programmers not to do. They know everything down to a science. And that makes, like, one of my favorite things where, like, the younger, like, you know, child prodigy kid is like, listen, it's Jesus talking. He's like, it's not Jesus. It's a version of Jesus. It's not really him. And he's like, you've undermined everything. You're fired. It's like, whoa. And, like, the kid has a break. Like, you'll get your $10 million and you will never speak of what happened here ever, ever. And I'm like, you know, the average person watching this is like, nope, deal. But then when you see that, like, no, that's my life's work. It's like, you're young. You can do more. It'll be fine. Like, you just get to see, like, what that, like, exclusivity and, like, being a part of that program would mean to people. And that, to me, was when I first started keying on the idea that, like, this is going to be going somewhere that I don't know where it's going to end. But I'm definitely on board because, you know, you get the bringing the ex-boyfriend into it, which... that was such a fucking gut punch, man. Just, I mean, and then he gets probably the most unceremonious thing, like, death of any character in a show this year. Like, just,
Yeah.
like, and the dude who
just gets shot by Zach Grenier in a bathroom.
in the back, no, he's on the floor.
Oh, I thought that's...
Remember, he comes in at the end, and that's when you realize the homeless dude was a Russian dude as well.
Me. Yes.
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
Comes through. He's making the lemon water.
Right.
He's making her water, and he just gets ice.
Double tapped right to the chest.
No,
that's it.
Yeah, I was thinking about the earlier scene where he, like, is torturing him.
And he breaks his finger.
Breaks his finger and everything. Yeah, I forgot he doesn't die then.
No, he doesn't. You know.
Yeah, rough stuff. And dude, when you first realize that the security guy, Zach Grenier's character, is, like, not a badass, but, like, this guy will fuck you up. The fight in the parking structure, the, like, slow motion fight. I think it's the end of, like, episode 2 or 3.
It's the fact that it is it starts an episode where you see
Bits
the
and
commotion
pieces of
going on,
right.
and you end with them on the ground, and he is alive after
after you're like, there's no way he's coming out of this.
And he's just there. What else has he been in that I was thinking of when
Fight Club.
He's the
boss
of
Fight Club.
That's what
most
it is.
people would know him from.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
he's been in a bunch of Fincher movies. I think he's in 7 as well for, like, 2
yeah,
seconds.
okay. I'm thinking Fincher stuff. Yeah, because, like, one of my favorite things was, and it's...
Oh, and excuse me, he was on Deadwood for, like, the entire run.
Well,
or 2 seasons, rather. Excuse me. No, just the one.
When the senator woman comes to visit, and the old Secret Service guy or whatever is just like, fucking, sometimes I wish somebody would try and take a knife at her or something like that, just so I can have some action. I get bored sitting around here. And then they have to do the talk down off the ledge, and he's like, I fucking hate you, man. Like, you got to do that. And he goes, everything's going digital. Everything's going technology these days. Like, he's just like, yeah, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But just the callousness. And the thing is, watching it now, it's like, well, nothing is going to happen to her. It's like, are you telling him that so he won't? Or does this guy know that he's not going to do anything? Because if I'm that guy, if I'm the security guy, and my boss says, well, nothing's going to happen to her, and I don't know that you've been looking into the future, how am I supposed to take that? Oh, okay, well, don't harm her. But if I know you've been looking into the future, I'm like, dude, when the fuck do I die? What happens here? And I don't know. Does this come from anything other than just his own brain, or like?
Oh yeah, no, it's not based on it. That's the other reason I
yeah.
absolutely loved it. It's just this is what you get when, and again, solely him. I don't. Are there co-writers on?
I don't even think there is a co-writer, dude. I think it's just him.
I think it is top to bottom him, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, only sole credited writer. And they've asked him, well, is this what you're doing now? Are you going to TV? And he's like, I gotta be honest with you, it is pretty compelling because this is the first time he's ever done it, and it was like, dude, it seems like you're like tailor made for this because your movies have like such deep concepts and like rich subtext to them that it would be great to be able to explore those more deeply. And he did say at some point that he would like to do very much the like kind of anthology model where he wouldn't do devs again, but he might do another fully self-contained limited series with a lot of these same actors.
That would be perfect.
And I was like, yes, please. Whatever you want to do, I'm on board. But yeah, this is the Too Old to Die Young or the Twin Peaks of this year. This is, again, what I keep asking for, which is like, just take a director that I like and let them do whatever the hell they want to do and leave them alone.
And by that, we mean give them Kate Blanchett with a budget and just let them work.
Yeah.
That is all.
And I think, in contrast to Twin Peaks: The Return, which was 18 hours long, and Too Old to Die Young, which clocked in around, 13, 14? Somewhere in there?
Yeah, somewhere in there.
This was on the shorter side, and I think it shows the malleability of the format, depending on the director. Like, he came in and told a very nice figure eight of a story, if you will, that it doesn't have that like circular logic in the way that some shitty sci-fi does, but it does end at a satisfying place, to me at least. I don't know if some people felt burned by where it ultimately goes, but
I mean,
I loved the concept of the two of it. Like, yes, you get to have this world now, which is pretty much limitless to you, but you do have to also live with the knowledge of everything you've done before.
Exactly, and that's
like we can't wipe your memory.
But I love that he's like,
you're the only self-aware ones here.
But he's like, you get used to it, and then like that's it, and you're like, okay, all right, and it just goes because, and then again, it's the cute thing of like, being self-aware because. Okay, as much as I talked to you about like it's the Jacob Ladder of it's all. Oh, it was just all in his brain. He never left Vietnam, whatever. Mm-hmm. To me, you could argue that this ending is the equivalent of like the Dallas or whatever, where Patrick Duffy, she wakes up and he's in the shower kind of thing. She wakes up and she's got the awareness that all this shit has happened to her. But at the end of the day, she gets to go and do what she realizes through the events that she's already gone through, what she should have done a long time ago, which was get back with Jamie, obviously. And so, that being a thing, I don't know. It did end on a nice level to me. I don't really need any more of these characters. I don't
think that was ever in question.
No, yeah. I mean, and I'm saying that's what most people would get to is like, well, why can't I get this? Why can't I get that? And it's like, you really don't need that. Like, you just don't. And I feel like that is the big thing with literally anything these days, is that because it is so in your face and you're able to get it like whenever you want, however you want, if you don't get it as all of it as much as you want, you're not going to like it. Mm-hmm. I don't think binging has made it able for people to digest a single contained thing.
I think, yeah, and I think people take it very personally in a lot of cases where it's like, well, I invested all this time. I could be watching so many other things. I gave you all this time.
Exactly.
Why are you not the thing I want you to be? And so, yeah, I do think you're maybe general audience, but I also don't think those types of audience members got past the first episode of this show at the same time. I think it very clearly established, like, this is something a little different. Maybe it's not your speed. And I've heard various reactions to it, but it's just smart, deep, thoughtful sci-fi that I want more of this.
Yeah.
Whether it's from him, I really don't get, but like between this and Raised by Wolves, like good year for sci-fi television format. I don't watch The Expanse. I know people love The Expanse, but
Couldn't get into it.
yeah.
I tried.
I've heard it's one that like now is like Game of Thrones level in terms of like it has built and like it's for sci-fi fans, I'm saying.
okay.
But I haven't, haven't taken the plunge. Haven't expanded my horizons.
Oh my God.
You want to talk a little Gangs of London, and then I mean, I don't really know if we have anything else beyond
Yeah,
that.
Gangs of London was
But
a
it's
big
just,
thing.
it's fresh for both of us. I literally just finished it last night. What a show, man! Holy shit! What a
That
show.
Pikey massacre. Oh my fucking God.
That was pretty
That
wild.
is brutal as fuck.
Well, hold on a second. I teased you with, so first episode, you're like, all right, I'm interested. Like, and they do the Gavin's favorite. You take the most known person in the entire cast and kill them off in the first 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. They're just like, we're just gonna ice Cole Meany, and you'll see him in some flashbacks.
Yeah, but
as soon as they killed him, I was like, dude, it's open season. I was like, anybody can die in this show. You just killed Cole. You just literally killed the only name actor I know in this. Come to find out, as I'm watching this, I'm like, I know a bunch of these guys.
Exactly.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Joe Cole, who plays Sean. I need to pull up my Gangs of London list.
He was
make
the
sure
one
I'm
from
getting- He was in
Green
Green
Room.
Room, and he was also on Peaky Blinders. If you watch
Right.
Peaky Blinders, you would love Peaky Blinders if you never started it.
Listen, I need to. Everybody I know is on that
Cillian
show.
Murphy.
Yes. I
This
know.
guy.
I need to.
Tom Hardy shows up
For a little bit.
season 3.
Yep.
Yeah. You need to make some time for it. There's 6 episode seasons, baby.
Yeah, I
Jump
know.
in there. Mm-hmm. Sorry, let me pull up my cast.
You know what I want? I want to know where Taboo season 2 is. Never gonna happen, but like I,
don't
just
know.
want
You
it.
can ask him about it. Okay. Yeah. So Joe Cole, I realized I knew, and then Papa Esedu, I'm probably butchering his name. I'm so sorry. Who plays Alex Damani? He's on I May Destroy You as a character named Kwame. Completely different performance. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, dude, they just British actors, man.
They know how
British
to-
actors. I don't know.
They
what
got
else to
range,
say.
man.
Just wow. Michelle Flaherty from Game of Thrones is on there as another very strong matriarch. And there was who are the other big ones? I think that was pretty much it. But Cole Meany going into it was the only
Who's the
main
brother?
one I knew.
I know the brother from somewhere. The heroin addict brother.
Billy.
I
Oh,
can't.
he was in Dunkirk
That's
briefly, and he was also in Star Wars, Force Awakens, apparently. Papillon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the Papillon remake with Hunnam.
Hunnam and your boy, friggin' Robot Man.
Robot Man. Christian Slater is Mr. Robot. Rami Malek is Elliot.
Well, you just spoiled the whole fucking show for me, so thanks a lot
You
for that.
realize who Christian Slater is? He calls him Mr. Robot in the first episode.
Okay. And Christian Slater's not real. It's
Right.
Tyler Durden's situation.
It is.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's again, why I haven't started the show. I'm like, I know the big season 1 twist. I got to sit through how many episodes?
But everything else is so good with that, dude. If I can tell you anything from this list, I wish you would go back and watch
I'll get
that
to
show.
it eventually. Back to Gangs of London.
Yes.
Excuse me. Okay. But that first episode where you're like getting invested, or not even getting invested, but just getting the lay of the land of like, okay, this is not like necessarily street level crime. This is like high level, like
Listen,
international
this
crime.
Is
Go
my
ahead.
this is my take. You know who this guy is? Who Cole Meady was?
Who is he?
He was one of Harold Shen's men back in the
Okay.
day. That's who he is.
Okay.
Because they own the dock, Noah.
Right.
What did Harold Shan want to do? He wanted to own the dock.
Yeah.
This is and that's what I took that from it. To me, Alex Damani's father, the guy who plays him, I would watch a movie now with him, that dude, as a Harold Shan typed character.
Yeah. Lucien Masmati,
If they
who plays
remade
Ed Dumani,
right,
one of the best
total Bob
performances of the year.
Hoskins vibes, dude.
Yeah.
I felt like they encapsulated everything anybody had ever put on screen about British gangsters. It was like, oh, you think like Snatch and Lock Stock, that's what British gangster stuff is? No. Let me show you this. Let me pull in these little tropes, these little tiny idiosyncrasies from The Long Good Friday and all these other gangster movies you've never seen. And I'm going to put them on screen. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to show you breakneck fucking action to a point where I was like, whoa. Like I was like visibly like, holy shit, did I just watch that happen?
That first
That
bar
fight
fight
scene, dude.
which the whole first episode essentially builds to. But
Right.
yeah, when Elliot just takes a deep breath and then walks in there, and it's literally every person he takes down in that bar, every single one of those, I was like, oh. And it was like, that's the feeling like you get from a raid fight scene, but it was just so extended in this, and seeing it in the context of like, this is just a fucking pub in the middle of England. Like, this is not some crazy 40-story tenement in the raid. This is not some like, narrow street car chase in the raid, etc. So, that hooked me on board. But what I love is everything you were just talking about. It's like, that's what I ended up staying for. Mm-hmm. Because they keep the crazy action is there, and it's pretty consistent throughout the season, and it's doled out like as it needs to be. But by the time we rounded into the end, I was like, you guys have crossed the Rubicon, if you will. I am now fully invested in the characters, the mystery of who killed Finn, Cole Meany's character, that runs throughout the bulk of the season, and like where the allegiances lie, and all the shifting power dynamics, the double crosses, all of that stuff, which could be very cliched, and some of it was, but a lot of it kept me guessing. And dude, we will talk about the finale in a minute, but I did not see any of that shit coming.
What?
Total, just the entire finale, the whole final episode. I was like,
no.
To have started where we started this story, and to now be where we are, and we'll get to it in a second. The other one I wanted to highlight, as far as action set pieces, there's some great fights in here. There's a great fight in the second episode as well, with the giant naked knife guy. But how much did you love when in episode 6 it turns into Assault on Precinct 13 on crack, dude?
Fuck yes. I am so glad that's the next one you mentioned.
I knew
this poor
I knew Gavin
fucking
was sitting
family,
there just like,
dude.
oh my god.
Because you take the father who has like made it out of that pikey assassin, like people are and
dude, when he's busting through the floor of his trailer to like escape that's the dad in Third Day, isn't it?
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I'm gonna have to say this. This is gonna have to just be out there, Noah. I think we got a new sheriff in town when it comes for squibs and people getting ripped to shit. It used to be Rodriguez. It's this guy. He literally takes 2 seconds to like poke somebody that's sitting out front of their trailer, and then like the next he looks out the window and hears a bunch of stuff, and it's and this person on the porch
just explodes
it's
essentially.
like, holy fuck, dude, what are we doing? And then to cut to like, hey, your son, you got away. You already sent your son away. And now this Danish special force group,
Dude, when they show up,
and they're all in tracksuits.
I immediately was like, these fucking Germans, man, what are these Germans up to? And eventually they're like, they're Danish special forces. I was like, dude, what the
fuck?
What are these Danes up to, man?
Jesus, man.
They really hold up well under torture,
and
too.
God, they are so pretty.
Yeah,
So fucking
all of
pretty,
them.
man.
Yeah, vicious, pretty vicious.
And they have those blonde-haired children who are just,
yeah,
but no. And for like the badass who's like been ripped to shreds and puts a grenade in a backpack and like
lumbers to the door,
dude,
all
the three of them at the door running, I don't think I've ever seen someone. It was like a blade when they come in the sunlight and they just eviscerate. Mm-hmm. It was like that on great CGI crack for them to get. That doesn't have. Grenades don't. Well, I guess I get there was C4, so that makes why it was such a big explosion. But them getting just like, like a match head just was batshit.
Wild.
Like wild, dude. Well, how do you. And just the gunplay around corners and the tight spaces and just.
In that same sequence, a dude is literally doing Max Payne in real time.
Yes.
Where he's diving into rooms with Uzis, like just spraying and praying, basically. Just wild stuff.
But for them to come for them to come down the hill and be like the people who are just there for supplies, like those poor kids that probably had nothing to do with it, that just get just ripped apart.
Yeah.
And then the boat guy comes and he's like, "Where the fuck is my wife?" Pat, 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 pat. That's it. And to unceremoniously just end on that dock, like, all right, well, we're done with this child. We need to get another son. Like, what the fuck, man?
And I love that, like, that showed potentially long term when we go into season 2. That was essentially a bottle episode. Like, it was all removed from the main action that we had been following up to that point.
Because we just got him taking a bullet for Sean. And we cut. And I love that.
It introduced new characters. It deepened the plot. And it at the very end, it gave us, like, a key answer to the puzzle piece of, like, who killed... Because he asked the assassin, the Danes or whatever, like, why'd you pick my son? Like, why'd you hire him for this assassination, etc. Again, people who have watched,
So wait, the Danes... I didn't miss it. So the Danes hired, like, text the son to go...
Yes, at the behest of Gavin.
Okay. Yeah. He was the one... He was calling the shots the entire time with any hits, essentially. It was him.
Well, yeah, and again, he's being instructed by the mysterious people in the limo. The next rung up. That is where...
That is the dope shit, dude. I love that.
The finale going in that direction of, like, the larger conspiracy of it, and to play it out where it's like, when they have that scene, again, I know a lot of people have not watched, even if they're listening now, this is basically me and you catching up about what happened this season. When they have the moment of Sean being like, well, no, dude, like, I'm ready to take down these people. I'm ready to take down the invisible structure, the thing that oppresses, like, everybody. I have the means to do it. I can expose these people. I can take them down, all of this. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, dude, this is the new gang being formed. We have Elliot, the undercover police officer who's in way too deep now.
Now, hang on. Before this, did he call him D.I. so-and-so? He called him D.I. Stewart or something like that.
Carver, yeah.
D.I. Carver.
Yeah.
Did he know then that he was undercover? Or was it not until the very end?
He knew he was undercover. He calls him on it, like, immediately. As soon as he comes in there. What do you mean?
Oh, I didn't think he knew that he was actually a cop until later on.
No, he knew he knows in that episode. What are you saying? I'm confused.
There's an episode earlier where they go meet the tiny
I
children.
know what you're talking about now. No, that is just a moment of, like, he's teasing him because he's saying that, like,
oh, you're acting like a cop. Oh, that's right. He had just I completely forget he just said they were cops.
It's a moment of, like, oh shit, does he know?
That's what I was getting at. I took it as, shit, he knew it.
No.
But he doesn't know until the final.
That cell phone.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Sorry, we're on different pages there.
No, I get it.
But it's building up in such a way where I'm like, oh, this is the new gang being formed.
Right.
Now there's going to be a faction where it's like Ed is out of the picture, and now it's Alex, Sean, it's the sons, and then Elliot, this former cop who is, like, gone all the way around to the other side now.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, dude, perfect place to leave it for season 2. Great setup, guys. You fucking knocked it out of the park. And then fucking Elliot shoots Sean point blank in the face.
Just the way his dad died.
Yeah. And I was like, what? We start flashing back to his meeting in the limo with like, what did they tell you to do? All of this stuff.
Oh, dude, the fact that
And
we
then
started that episode and he was naked in a chair or like in
being
his
tortured,
being
like,
tortured
yeah, Casino
by
Royale
who knows
style.
what? By
Dude,
who knows?
the giant.
This show has a
7-foot
full-on premium on giant men with big arms that can toss men around like nothing. These are like beefcake, like old school 20s, like
That's
barbell
such a
lifters.
great dynamic too, though. When you've seen him be such a badass through most of this season, you've seen him just like put in work on dudes, and then all of a sudden, this dude who's like 7 foot has biceps the size of like most people's thighs and shit, like just
He
giant
lifts him up by the
arms.
throat in a chair.
Literally, yes, takes him bound to a chair and scales him up. Just incredible stuff. Incredible stuff, dude.
Same thing with like the now that was
Okay.
dude, that fight with the first big fight with the guy with the meat cleaver, that was some fuck shit. Like
Wow, dude.
Did you
the
get-
finisher for that?
did you get vibes that like the son that was his he the son that did the murder and he brought his boy with him. Did you get vibes like they were like an item?
Yeah.
Okay, I was making sure I did too because I was like, oh, these guys are gay and they can't be gay in the pikey culture.
I would
so they
assume
want
so.
money to run away.
Yeah.
That's why they're doing this, and then they don't know that. Oh my God, it's the fucking king of London.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
And all that entails.
So, but the flip at the end of
yeah.
okay, Elliot's now working because he really being a cop is not like the most relevant thing at this point.
No, not at all.
It is like Sean kind of calls him out on it. It's like it is just being somebody or having some sort of purpose because you grew up in the shadow of your father who was like a palooka or whatever they call him, like a boxer who just like went down all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so getting that full transition to like, okay, and now he has carte blanche to do whatever he wants, I guess. He gets out of this like torture scenario by like saying a phrase, and now he works for the possibilities it opened, and the like we were playing this mystery of like one death for most of the season, and now it's this like grander conspiracy of like, well, who's really in control of all of this crime, etc., who's pulling the strings, and where does he go from here? And then we get the last little teaser that Mama Wallace is not actually dead.
Nope.
Yeah. Which is very exciting because I'll be honest with you, when he shot Sean in the face, I was so pissed off.
Yeah.
I was angry, dude, and I was like, great on you guys for totally faking me out. When you had the whole build-up scene of like, dude, yeah, they're about to start a new crew right here in the room. Like, he talks Alex down from murdering him. They're all on good terms.
And you forget the key thing, Noah. There's a scene early on when he asks Sean to basically come into the life that they're in. And I love that scene because little brother just steps up and shoots that fucking pail. Dude's dead. And little brother tells him, save him, Elliot, or I'll kill you. And that's it. Now you're told that he's going to go off and like he'll be safe and live another life. But there's still that little thread from that angle that if Mama's still alive and he finds out Elliot's the one that killed his brother, they link back up. The Billy, is that his name?
Yeah.
The younger brother, that's the animal. Like, people thought Sean was brutal for tying that kid up and burning him on the side of the whatever. Like,
Yeah.
that's the real animal you got to watch out for. Like, and I love that. That's still in play.
And also, again, Mother Wallace.
Oh, yeah.
When she's torturing the Danish girl.
Oh, dude, that was like, I was like, this is some next level shit, man.
Well, and the song on repeat, dude.
Yeah.
Such effect. Great music cues throughout the show.
Oh, yeah,
by the
definitely.
Way. Like great style and tone, everything. Incredible camera work. Just
top down, dude.
Great stuff. One of my favorite new shows, dude.
Yeah, that was again a revelation because I was just like,
again, it's like it has the action gear in its back pocket where it's like, just bottom line, maybe the best action show on television ever. Just the type of action it is and like the level of like craft to it. It has that in its back pocket, but it's like I care about all the the intrigue and like are the undercover cops gonna get found out? Is this guy gonna take revenge on the dude? We didn't even talk Luan when he goes to meet with the Nigerians.
Oh my god, dude.
And you're like, oh dude, it's over for him. Oh, this is how he dies. Like, this is the end of his arc as a character, or whatever. And then he just completely flips script and like machetes all of them to like.
And then gouges dude's eyes out.
You see his like animal come out, and the setup for like with his where he's like, I don't want to run away or whatever, and his wife is like, no, we're gonna leave. Your enemies are gonna fight amongst themselves, kill off each other, and then when you come back, you're gonna like take over all of this shit.
Oh, dude, the mayor of London and the prostitute woman that like the son Nazir, like his finding his son with like the dead, like, and then
you said the prostitute woman.
I don't know. She looked like she was interviewing him, but like I thought she was somehow. I didn't know why I said prostitute woman.
That was Lale in like in
drag?
a wig. Not
that was
in
her
drag.
That was her in a wig.
Yeah,
I thought it was just a random assassin they hired. I didn't realize it was her. Okay,
yeah.
I thought it was someone else.
Well.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Like, I mean,
I like all the characters and not like, oh my god, I have these huge like emotional investments or attachments, but I'm like, they have a big mosaic cast, and most of the time when you do that, there's always like a thread you're gonna cut to where I'm like, I don't really care about this one, but they've established a world where I'm like, I want to see how all of this interconnects and like who's playing off of who and who's all of that stuff totally works. And if you're ever getting bored of it, just wait about 20 more minutes. There's gonna be an action set piece, unlike anything you've seen on television.
And if not an action set piece, it will be a piece that like disturbs the shit out of you, but will ultimately have like a great payoff. Because when all those dudes are like, they stole our money, and like they go cut off everyone's in the bank's hands, and then they come to the party, and you're like, oh dude, all those hands are in that box. They're gonna give that look, and it's a puppy. Yeah. Because the puppy was in the bank manager's office. Like, yeah. Like, oh, okay. Because it doesn't say that those people died. It said, yeah, they all got their hands cut off. It's like, right. Oh shit, what the hell? What is this? And so, but then again, with the guy you're just talking about, you get the satisfaction of like, I don't like these dudes, but also like, it was kind of cool that he gave the little girl a puppy instead of a bunch of hands. He didn't traumatize her. Yeah. But now it is kind of cool that that girl's dad is like gouging this motherfucker's eyes out. Like, that's cool too. Right. And the mom is all right. Like, they're great. You know, like, get the kids to the safe house. We're going to do this. Like, it's just such a, I don't know. It's so crazy that like, even like the hit on the factory with the flowers and stuff. And they like, he's watching them go in and just like annihilate this entire, it's just so, I don't know.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't feel like it's like lampshading it where it's like, oh, well, we're gonna like revel in it a bit so that people can't criticize us for like it being overly gory or whatever. But the kind of realization that Sean comes to by the end of it, of like, oh, my dad was like just kind of sick of all this and wanted to get out of it, and that's why they took him out for trying to like not play the game anymore, right? For trying to like do his own thing and like just be done with it.
Well, they do say that like the reason why is because he borrowed from the investors,
right?
He stole from them to finance something that did not actually work out, and so the money could not be repaid. So that's why he was disappearing, was to run away from the investors. Mm-hmm. Yeah, to get out, but like, oh, if I can do this and I can steal all this money, I can just disappear.
But Sean having that realization that like, what was it all for, etc., all this violence he's wrought, and like coming to terms with like the stuff I've done in pursuit of like my father's killer, where it's like, is my father even the man I remember at this point? Mm-hmm. That like allows you to feel the weight a little bit more, and moments like you said of like when they wholesale slaughter that whole warehouse full of people. Like, I was so ready for Asif to die then, and like he's still not dead, so he's a
but he's also but now the guy who just got elected mayor is dead, right? Like, didn't his son win the mayoral election?
I think he had just won.
Yeah, that was his celebration. He's dead.
Yeah. But yeah, and they're establishing now all of these like counter feuds and stuff that we will potentially get to see play out. I so hope that we get a season 2.
Because the
I can't
Dane,
see. I know it's a huge hit over in England. I
Yeah.
don't know if people are catching up to it now, but like,
because aren't the Danes the one that come in at the very end that are chasing them? When he kills,
yes,
yeah. Because like, you know, I know they come to their house and it's like it was like the big lead Irish dude that you thought was like gonna be the right hand man to the mom, and he gets killed like in 2 seconds when they come to the house. I'm like, oh, he must have not been that bad of a dude, that, you know, because those Danish dudes, guys, man, they're those
yeah,
just brutal.
yeah.
Like the show is brutal, and I love that he was like, oh yeah, well there were so many of them, but I had a dart. It's like,
A dart.
What?
Every once in a while, it has a nice little zinger. There's not a lot of humor in the show,
No.
but every once in a while, it has its moments. Yeah. So we both thoroughly enjoyed that one. I mean, we could talk Mando, but we'll talk whenever it's wrapped.
Yeah, no, it's fine. We'll catch the next two, and we'll talk about it when
we
it's
may
done.
do a full-on episode about the Rodriguez directed one. Who
Yeah.
knows? We'll see. So yeah, if anybody has stuck with us deep into the spoiler discussion, thanks for sticking around. We will be back fairly soon with our year-end film wrap-up, the last year-end wrap-up cast.
Yeah.
And then we'll say goodbye to fucking 2020, and we'll move on to some cool, fun stuff first of the year. We got
Hopefully
a bunch of stuff planned for you. A little thing I'll talk to you about off mic, so don't even worry about it right now.
yeah.
For this 2 hour and 35-minute episode, I have been Noah.
And I've been Gavin.
And we've been the Blanchard Brothers. And you've been listening to what we were watching in 2020. Thanks for listening.
I was gonna say what we were streaming, because
I mean, it was a lot of streaming.
yeah.
Yeah, watching. But you know what? Streamed a lot of movies this year
Yeah,
too.
that's
So
true.
what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I was gonna try and say something cool like you'll be streaming what we've been dreaming or something ridiculous, but that's not. That
We'll
doesn't work.
stream you in a dream.
Stream in a dream.
This is the Blanchard Brothers saying, "We stream you in a dream."
Yeah, and my money's on Leto.